I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Mount Yellow School District for May 21st, 2017. And the first thing we would do is preliminary business, so I will start with the roll call. Trustee Durkee? Here. Trustee Hansen? Here. Trustee Mayo? Here. Trustee Lawrence? Here. Trustee Mason is here, and our trustee for the night is Satali Pinzon. She's our student rep, and in a minute you can say whatever you want. I always let you know that you're a full member of the board tonight. You just cannot vote, but you're free to weigh on anything we're discussing, give your opinion, and stay as long as you would like to stay, or leave as soon as you think you need to, as long as you've given your student report before. And I will now ask you to stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now have the report out from our closed session. On item 7.1, the board appointed Kevin Gilbert of Oldbach and Puck to represent us on that item. On 7.2, we have referred that item back to Student Services for further action. 7.3, we received information. 7.4, we received information. 7.5, we received information. And on 7.6, our legal counsel has not had enough time to evaluate the item before we proceed, and I apologize to those that were in attendance for any inconvenience on that. And we will now move forward to public comment. The public may address the board regarding any item within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District that is not on this agenda. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes each, or a total of 30 minutes for all speakers, or the 3-minute limit may be shortened. If there are multiple speakers on any one subject, the public comment period may be moved to the end of the meeting. Speakers are not allowed to yield their time. I always take this moment to let the public know that the board operates under the Brown Act. The Brown Act requires that we do up to 3 things when we hear a public comment. We can ask you a clarifying question, we can refer your matter to a future agenda, or we can refer you to a staff member. There's no guarantee that any of those things are going to happen, but that is all we are allowed to do in order to go by the Brown Act. So, having said that, we will open up with Cindy Knapp.
Good evening. Oh, give me 100 kids and I'd be jazzed up. Give me a few adults and I'm a little. Hello, my name is Cindy Knapp and I currently teach at Mount Diablo Elementary. I am on the involuntary transfer list this year. Some of you may know my story through emails that I have sent. Thank you, Cheryl Hansen, for recently responding to mine this morning. I'm here today to discuss the process that we've all been dealt. I sat in a third involuntary transfer just this afternoon, where I was encouraged for a third time to possibly take a leave of absence due to lack of jobs, even told today that my experience in San Ramon Valley Unified School District was a lot, so why not teach there? My heart sank when I heard this. I came here to provide my community, to provide this district with my experience. The third meeting that took place tonight was also, there was numerous inconsistencies. For example, teachers hearing differing in-person answers that were different from those that were in documents and emails that we were sent. Throughout this process, myself and others on this list, I'm up here in voice of them as well, have truly felt the answers and rules have changed between meetings. A frequent asked document came out and we have yet to hear answers to a question that we all believe is incorrect. At least clarify if we are interpreting wrong. We are all being told that the lack of openings has never happened and before, and this is a unique situation. I understand that. But not answering our questions and our emails is certainly makes us all question the process and procedures for this unique situation are in fact not in place. This is our career, our lives. This has led many of us to feel unvalued and just purely a number on the seniority list. Set aside some of the flaws in this current process and look at the class sizes. It's disheartening as a parent in this school district, as well as a teacher, that many of the sites that are losing teachers are also maxing out class sizes per our contract numbers. Recent events in society have showed that we need to do more for our kids. Why can't we keep class sizes lower? Why cannot we? This could be a first action for our children. Coming here today is extremely out of my comfort zone, but I was encouraged by colleagues at my site, colleagues in various sites across this district, and many people that were on the involuntary transfer list to get our voice heard. I have taught for 16 years and have worked extremely hard the last 2 years in this district to provide a quality and differentiated education, as well as bringing my professional development to my colleagues. I don't want to leave here, but through this process, I've almost felt forced to at various times. I have hope that we can work together as a unified school district to respect each other through communication and fix flawed processes for equality and provide class sizes that are appropriate for 2018 and the changing path of our society. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Garth, Ashley?
That's me. Garrett.
Garrett.
Hello there.
Hello.
Many of you know me from my work at the CBOC. But I'm here as a parent, and it's a lot harder. So you have on file several instances of my son being bullied at Sequoia Middle School, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. The perpetrators of these acts are live in the same area, so they're likely going to go to the same high school. So the thought of this following victimization, following him through school, fills us with dread, because well, I don't need to explain to you the dangers of this. So we filed an intra-district transfer. We went through the lottery process. We went through the appeal process, and then I got a letter the other day saying that appeal was denied, and it's and the answer is final. Now, it means that the school district process is final, which you have to exhaust before you can go to litigation, which I'm taking counsel on at the end of the week. Because you have a duty, you have a responsibility to protect the children in your care, and this lets us kind of tantamount to a dereliction of that duty, frankly. And in case you haven't figured it out, I'm going to take this opportunity to resign from the Oversight Committee. Not because of the good people who give their time and experience freely, or your Measure C staff who I have an immense amount of respect for, but because I just simply can't be any part of an organisation that just pays lip service to an issue as important as for you. And that's all I have to say. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for sharing your concerns. Donna Glover.
Okay, tell me if I'm too loud. Okay, sorry. Okay, there's an old saying that sometimes things look good on paper, but in reality, it's really the wrong decision. Such is the decision that this school board made a couple of months ago to add more students to classrooms for the next school year with the overall goal of saving money. As a direct result of this, and it's ironic that I'm following Mrs. Knapp here, as a direct result of this decision, 17 elementary school teachers had to be reassigned. Also, as a part of this decision, Mount Diablo Elementary School in Clayton will be impacted as they're scheduled to lose 4 classrooms next year, causing overcrowded conditions. Of the 4 teachers at Mount Diablo being reassigned, 1 teacher had a temporary status, so she lost her teaching position, while the other 3 teachers were hired during the same school year. Excuse me, it's 2016-2017. To determine seniority for these 3 teachers, instead of basing their date on the date that they were hired, which is a corporate practice for most businesses and school districts, Mount Diablo School District conducted a lottery. The result of this lottery was Mrs. Knapp, who was hired in May 2016 with over 16 years teaching experience was placed at the bottom of the list, while the other two teachers who were just hired 3 months after Mrs. Knapp were placed above her in seniority. Both of these teachers have classroom assignments next year from Mount Diablo, while Mrs. Knapp currently does not have a classroom assignment. In fact, one of the two teachers who just has 2 years teaching experience is taking over Mrs. Knapp's class next year, or it has been assigned. And currently, Mrs. Knapp will be reassigned to be a full-time substitute teacher in this school district. Excuse me. How disheartening and disrespectful for Mrs. Knapp. Excuse me, it's kind of emotional here. How disheartening and disrespectful for Mrs. Knapp with 16 years experience to be demoted to a substitute teacher status. Mrs. Knapp left San Ramon School District after 14 years because the previous principal and various, let me get a little bit of, sorry, I'm drying up here. Various teachers at Mount Diablo thought so highly of her and her skill level that they actively recruited her to join their staff. And also because Mrs. Knapp has 3 children attending Mount Diablo. Mrs. Knapp has received numerous recognitions throughout her 16 years of teaching, including being a senior mentoring teacher in the San Ramon Mentoring Program for newly hired teachers. All of you on the board recently, not only just now, but recently met Mrs. Knapp, as she was one of the 20 district-wide teachers whom just last year you awarded the prestigious You Make a Difference in the Classroom Award. In fact, each of you shook her hand on stage and congratulated her on the award, while at the same time slapping her on the back saying, "Great job, but guess what? You don't have a job next year. You don't have a classroom assignment next year." Let me wrap this up by saying you on the school board have the ability to correct this overcrowded situation at Mount Diablo by simply opening up one more upper grade class. Maybe I lost my spot here.
Your time is up, though.
Okay, let me just wrap this up by just saying, if there's an overcrowded situation, if you were to open up one more class, Mrs. Knapp's job would be saved. So I thank you all, and I hope that you guys make the right decision, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Madam President, could I ask a clarifying question of staff for Dr. Meyer or staff? In terms of how the district determines which teachers would be on the involuntary transfer list, is that something that is a matter of board policy, or is that something that is part of the contract that we have with Medea? Or could you just shed some light on
It
that
is part
procedure?
of the contract.
Next speaker is Hannah Brakovich.
Hello, my name is Hannah Brakovich, and I am a senior at Northgate High School. As a lactose intolerant person, my goal is to get milk alternatives in MDUSD school cafeterias. Every MDUSD student has grown up with a reoccurring serving of cartoned milk. We've seen it throughout elementary, middle, and high school. In elementary school, I struggled to decipher why my stomach hurt so badly after lunch, no matter what variation of the school lunch I got that day. In middle school, I had no idea what was causing my severe acne and redness of the face, no matter which miracle face wash I used. And in high school, my mom suggested that I may be lactose intolerant like her. And with that discovery, I decided to abandon my habit of consuming milk. However, MDUSD did not make this an easy decision to avoid dairy, with the multiple Got Milk posters in every cafeteria, free milk with each school lunch that you just feel terrible throwing away a whole carton of milk of, and cheese-covered meals. By requiring a serving of milk with each school lunch, it is creating lifelong habits of blindly consuming dairy and other dairy products throughout the lives of students. It has been proven that millions of people have allergies to cow's milk due to the fact that cow's milk contains more than 20 proteins that have the potential to result in allergic reactions. These allergic reactions are very uncomfortable, including nausea, indigestion, cramping, gas, and diarrhea. And due to the large quantity of students who also struggle with lactose intolerance, I question and propose you to question why dairy is so vigorously included in the USDA mandated diet. So I've contacted the director of the MUSD Food and Nutrition Services Department, Dominic Machi, and he informed me that since MUSD follows the USDA National School Lunch Program, you guys would be unable to provide school or soy milk because it goes against the lunch program guidelines and you would not receive federal subsidies. However, when I researched the program that was started, by the way, by Harry Truman in 1946, within this 10-page document, it specifies that lunches must offer fluid milk that is fat-free and low-fat. However, I then researched further into the program and found many addendums to the original document. One that was included in 2010, which included the variation for lactose-free milk as an option. And this lactose-free addendum leaves much leeway on the acceptance of soy milk. So I propose to you to research the lactose-free options and work to include soy milk into the lunch programs. With your help, I hope to impact every MUSD student by supplying them with an alternative to cow's milk. Thank you.
Thank you. Ariel Benzier.
Hi, my name is Ariel Benzev. I'm here tonight to address an issue I've encountered with district administration regarding the inter-district transfer release for my daughter, Mayana Kafra. On March 1st, I requested an inter-district transfer to Akalani's Union because I am a single parent, work for a school in Lafayette, and have 2 younger children that attend school in Lafayette. When I submitted my request on March 1st with proof of employment, and still as of today on the district website, the #1 reason listed for release from the district is employment. It states parent/guardian must work within the boundaries of the district you are requesting enrollment. Proof of employment is required. Yet to this day, 82 days later, nearly 3 months after I submitted my request, I still have not received official notification of approval or denial. Since March 23rd, when Akalani's Union announced their deadline for application of April 19th, I've reached out in person, via phone calls, and via email more than 10 times to the Student Services Department, senior administrative officials, and even you, the board. Despite this, I made no progress until I had a meeting with Chris Halloran on Wednesday, May 16th. In that meeting, he informed me that the policies changed a couple days ago, and my employment within the boundaries of another district no longer makes my daughter eligible for transfer. I immediately requested to see a copy of these new policies, but have yet to receive them, nor are they posted on the website. The California Education Code clearly states that 1, my employment does satisfy the residency requirements to enroll in Akalani's Union, and 2, I can appeal any denial to the County Office of Education. So I stand here today to ask, how is it fair and acceptable to change the policy 2.5 months into the process? How can the policy be changed without publication and notification of the constituents in the district? How is this new policy in line with the California Education Code? If I have been denied, why have I not received notification so that I can exercise my right to due process to appeal to the County Office of Education? And finally, how is this policy changed in the best interest of the students in the district? As you can see, I'm extremely disheartened by the lack of respect, honesty, and genuine disregard to fairness that has been exercised to date by the district on what should be a very simple matter, an inter-district transfer due to employment. I played by the rules that were outlined, yet district administration has not. So I've been left with no choice but to contact Assemblyperson Catherine Baker for assistance and to speak to you today in person to address this indiscriminate action. As a board, I ask you to lead by example. Adhere to the policy that was published on March 1st, and please release my daughter from the Mount Diablo School District. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle McCormick.
Hi.
Ready when you are.
Oh, okay, thanks. Sorry, I've never done this before. I'm here as a mom today. My son is a student at Northgate. He has disabilities and has for a very long time. And I have worked in good faith with the school and with special education in the district since we've been here. It has been an up and down journey And we've learned from each other, and I take that as it comes because that's what it's about, especially when you have a kid with disabilities. We learn to do it together. We have been struggling a lot more recently since we've been at Northgate, both last year and this year. And it has been escalating this year to the point where I did submit a complaint about a teacher. And after I submitted that complaint, things escalated with the school. They started to respond differently to my significant other, who is the caregiver of my children, and really escalating issues. And it got to the point where last week they put a stay away order on him, which he has complied with, except for one time when he had to pick up my son for medical attention. And he has not been on any campus ever since. And when he went to the school that day, they called the police and threatened to arrest him, and they told him it was illegal for him to be there. But on the form he had, it said that he could go there for medical attention. The police officer called me, and I told him, yes, that he needed to be seen, and they released him. But now I've been told they're going to get a restraining order against him. They're not going to allow him to have a board hearing. And I need to know how to solve this problem. I had to cancel a work trip in order to stay here to figure out this problem, and I need to be able to go back to work. And this is undue. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. He was not violent. He wasn't anything. So I need to know what to do. I'm asking to come to the table. I need to know how to fix this problem because I'm running out of options. I was here all day today with my son trying to get him additional resources so that he can, this has been devastating for a family, you can imagine, and with a child with disabilities, he's struggling. And so I was here all day trying to get additional resources for him so that he can go back to school and be okay with it. And I was here also trying to figure out what the next steps of this are. And was told there are no next steps. We don't know who to go to. We're going to get a restraining order. That doesn't sound like due process to me. I'm not on the other end of, his conversations. I know that he is following the process. He has filed appeals, but I need to know how to move forward with this.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Michael Gary Wilson.
He's actually trying to get phone.
I'm sorry, your time is up.
It's for him. He's on the phone.
Oh,
He
that's
can't be
Michael?
here. Yeah, he can't be
okay,
here in
I'm sorry.
person because he has a
I
stay
didn't
away
realize
order.
that was who we were talking about.
Yeah, he has a
Can we
stay away
do that?
order, so he can't.
I don't think we can take a testimony by phone.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Tatiana Leskowitz. Probably butchered that one, but.
Hi, I am a parent of the first ever dual immersion class at Bancroft, who is in 3rd grade now. I'm also a parent of a first ever TK class at Holbrook. And I was shocked and dismayed that earlier this fall we were told that there is no plans to continue the program into middle school. And more than anything, I was confused as to how did the parents get so far apart from the school district, because we all were under the impression that this is a K-12 program, and clearly the school district did not think so. And when I saw you at your last board meeting discussing the magnet showcase, Holbrook being one of them, we were there, I realized that we speak a different language, and that's not Spanish. We think about our children, and we think in terms of time. We made decisions 12 years in advance. We moved into the district for the program. We bought a house based on assurances that there would be a middle school. That my youngest daughter would be able to go with her older sister to the same school. When my younger daughter was offered a choice last year to attend TK program in the district or go to a superior private school for kindergarten, I decided that while this year it may not be ideal, for the next year it is much better for us as a family to attend TK. And I'm here missing dinner with my kids because I think in the future that will pay off. But the school district, it has tens of thousands of students, and it clearly can't think in those terms. It thinks of successes today. Today there is a Holbrook. Today there is a Bancroft. Today there is STEM magnet school. There's an art magnet school. There's IB schools. But those are today. Well, there is no plan for tomorrow because there's just so many problems for today. And I'm not going to ask you to continue. Well, I am continue the program, but I'm not going to ask you that today. Today, I would like you to consider assigning someone to talk about that with us. Talk the same language in terms of our program through the time. And that's going to happen to other programs, maybe IB programs. And then we can have conversations, because right now I don't know whether it's EL, whether it's a superintendent of elementary schools, whether it's superintendent of middle schools. There's nobody who is in charge. There's nobody whose job it is to think what happens to those kids. And those kids are graduating Bancroft in 2 years or Holbrook in 4 years. Something is going to happen, and I please ask you to think of it beforehand. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise Persha?
Good evening, honored board members and Superintendent Dr. Nellie Meyer. Well, it seems to me society has gotten to a point where everybody has a right, but nobody has a responsibility. Not sure who said that, but perhaps appropriate for the discussion at hand. Responsibility, in case you didn't know, is made up of 2 words, response and ability. Or as it's defined in Webster, the state or fact of being responsible, answerable, or accountable for something within one's own power, control, or management. We need not just a discussion about the 3 R's, the new sexuality education material that you presented to 10-year-old kids, but we need an actual vote from this board about this curriculum, because that is the responsible thing to do when you are members of this board. In case you haven't heard, Fremont School District voted out their sexuality education material about a month ago for elementary school age kids, 4th through 6th grade. I'm sure that there will be sex ed again in Fremont soon, but they took to task the material, the exact same material as our district is using. They voted out the curriculum, the same curriculum that our district is using for elementary school age kids, because it was not age appropriate. I've sent you all a couple of articles for review regarding this curriculum that Fremont just kicked to the curb. However, when you open the articles, I want you to pay special attention to the signs that parents were holding in the room. You'll notice one sign that says, no to 3 R's, yes to sex ed, because no one, not me, not anyone I've spoken to in our district is saying no to sex ed. They're just saying no to 3 R's curriculum. The second sign that you'll notice is one that says teach total health. You see, the old material was 2 lessons long, just 2. The new material for both Fremont and our district was 11 lessons, 40 minutes in length. You went from 2 to 11, and you presented human reproduction in those 2 lessons to now teaching about sexuality education. So the reason why you see a sign saying teach total health is because they took out other health information in order to teach these 11 sexuality lessons. Think about it. You had to take something out in order to fit it all in. From what I understood, they took out circulatory and respiratory, as well as a few other health systems in order to make room. It's almost like you think sexuality education is more important than other health information to 10-year-olds. Yes, we need some sense and sensibility from our leadership. We need some response and ability from our leadership and superintendent. Though you didn't vote, you only discussed this material, you are responsible for voting on age-appropriate curriculum for our youngest students. In fact, it's the job you were elected to do. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is all the public comment cards I had. So we will be going on to 9.0, our public employee appointments. So Dr. Meyer, appointment of Assistant Superintendent High School.
Yes, thank you. President Mason, Board of Education, I would like to recommend for the position of Assistant Superintendent of High Schools, Michael Jimenez. Michael comes to us with a Bachelor's of Arts from San Diego State University. He also has a Master's of Arts from Point Loma Nazarene College. He holds an Administrative Services credential, Single Subject Clear Teaching credential, CLAD credential. He has, let's see where, okay, 8 years as a high school principal, 3 years as a vice principal, and is currently the school support administrator for Mount Diablo Unified School District. So I would like to recommend Michael Jimenez for the position of Assistant Superintendent of High Schools.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move the board approve the appointment of Michael Jimenez as Assistant Superintendent for High Schools.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We will vote. Sorry, Mike, we're having technical difficulties here.
What happens when you're first?
If you want to change your mind and run out the door, we'll understand.
I just can't vote yet electronically. It's nothing personal.
And
Oh, thank you. I was a little nervous there. Board President Mason, yeah, thank you. Board Trustees, Dr. Meyer. Thanks for the opportunity to work in Mount Diablo Unified School District. I came here a year ago in August as a school support administrator. It's been a wonderful time since I've been here, wonderful people to work with. I want to thank Chris Holleran personally for the guidance, leadership, and the opportunity to take on some tasks and learn the position a little bit. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate the assistant supes as well. They've been a great help, as well as the executive director of instruction. And just the people in the office have been fantastic. They've been very supportive. And you as well have been very supportive. And I appreciate all the help that you guys give me and the patience that you give me to learn the job. So thank you very much. I won't let you down.
Congratulations.
appointment of Executive Director of Human Resources.
Yes, President Mason, Board of Education. It is my honor to recommend for the Executive Director of Human Resources, Lisa Murphy Oates. Lisa comes to us with a Bachelor's of Science from San Diego State University, also a Master's of Arts from California State University, Bakersfield. She has currently, she is the Interim Executive Director of Human Resources. She also has 4 years in the position of Administrator of Equity and Disproportionality for MDUSD. She previously was a principal in MDUSD for 3 years and in Antelope Valley for 14 years, both a principal and a director. So I would like to recommend Lisa Murphy-Oates for the position of Executive Director, Human Resources.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the appointment of Lisa Murphy-Oates as Executive Director of Human Resources.
Second.
Fast.
Hopefully this vote will go a little smoother.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, members of the board and Superintendent Dr. Nellie Meyer. I truly appreciate the opportunity. I too pray that I will not let you down. I'm excited about the vision and leadership of this board and of this district, and I endeavor to do my part to make Mount Diablo a destination district. I also want to thank my beautiful daughter who is here, my daughter Devin, just for the support that I have at home and also for that handsome man standing up. My love, Mr. Michael Jackson. I truly appreciate you being the wind beneath my wing. So thank you.
Okay, appointment of Assistant Director for Instructional Support. Dr. Meyer?
Yes, President Mason, Board of Education. I would like to recommend for the position of Assistant Director, Instructional Support, Dawn Edwards. Dawn comes to us with a Bachelor's of Arts from Cal State Sacramento, as well as a Master's in Arts from St. Mary's College. She currently is the principal of Mount Diablo Elementary for the last 2 years. She's been an assistant principal in Oakley, as well as a vice principal in Lammersville, and she also was an elementary teacher in 2 districts. So I would like to recommend Dawn Edwards for the position of Assistant Director, Instructional Support.
She didn't tell me. I was over there as principal for a day and she never told me. So I would like to nominate or move that the board approve the appointment of Dawn Edwards as Assistant Director of Instructional Support.
Second.
She can keep a good secret. And she runs a good school.
I didn't even tell my mother. I thought she put it on Facebook. Board President Mason, board members, Dr. Meyer, and attendees. I am so very pleased and honored to be here tonight and to be named as the Assistant Director of Instructional Support. It has been a great honor to serve the Mount Diablo Unified School District as principal of Mount Diablo Elementary. I have thoroughly enjoyed serving the amazing students and families and staff there. Please know that while I am dedicated to ensuring a smooth transition of leadership, I am very much looking forward to the challenges and opportunities in this new position. Serving the entire TK through 12th grades principals, group, and students is a dream come true for me. With that, I would also like to thank and recognize my husband of almost 25 years, Randy Edwards. Thank you so much. I am truly honored.
Congratulations.
Pass Unified Personnel, appointment of Assistant Director of Maintenance and Operations.
Yes, President Mason, Board of Education. I would like to recommend Melanie Koslow for the position of Assistant Director, Maintenance and Operations. Melanie comes to us with experience as a construction manager for the last 2 years at Las Positas Community College in Livermore. She also was construction manager in Mount Diablo Unified School District from 2011 to 2016. She has experience as a project administrator, a project coordinator, and another project coordinator in the private sector. So with that, a lot of things going on. I would like to recommend Melanie Koslow for the position of Assistant Director, Maintenance and Operations.
So I know Melanie, nice to see you again, I'm so excited. So, Madam President, I would like to move the appointment of Melanie Koslow as Assistant Director for Maintenance and Operations.
Second.
Good evening, President Mason, trustees of the board, Superintendent Meyer, everyone in attendance. I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. Leaving Mount Diablo 2 years ago was a very, very, very hard decision for me. I always felt at home here. I felt I had room for growth, and I really believe in the work that I did here. We got to a point where I just felt like I needed to grow a bit more to be able to come back, hopefully, and rejoin Mount Diablo. That was always a goal in my future. And so I just want to say thank you for everyone for your vote, and I'm really excited and thrilled to be back. And I just want to acknowledge that my father, Arnold Koslow, came with me tonight, because no matter how old you
Okay, appointment of curriculum specialist.
Yes, President Mason, Board of Education. I would like to recommend for the position of Curriculum Specialist, Susan Hartwig. Susan comes to us with a Bachelor's of Arts from Cal State Chico, as well as a Master's in Education from Concordia University. She has 14 years teaching experience. She also has experience, looks like this summer, of being the summer school vice principal, and she also has 4 years of experience as a teacher, coach, specialist with middle school. So I would like to recommend Susan Hartwig for the position of Curriculum Specialist.
Madam President, I move the board approve the appointment of Susan Hartwig as Curriculum Specialist.
Second.
Good evening, everyone. Board members and Dr. Meyer. It's very nice to be up here in front of you this evening, and it's just really exciting to have been a stakeholder in this district for basically my whole life, as the child of a teacher in Mount Diablo Unified, and then as a student myself, and now as a professional and parent. So this is a unique thrill for me to be here. I would like to thank you all for your vote of confidence, always taking a chance. And I'd like to thank my family, of course. My husband Dan is here. My kids are in middle school, so I figured maybe I wouldn't make them sit still tonight. But it's just really important for me also to thank, and I would be remiss in not thanking a couple really just fine educators that have kind of brought me along with their own skills and talents. I'd really like to thank Jonathan Egan, Jennifer Sachs, Christina Barra, who is now in a different district, onto other things. Lisa Murphy Oates is here tonight too. John Campapiano is in a different district, but these are people that are really just fine educators that have really, again, taken a chance on me and helped to develop me as an educator and a part the educational community, not Dial Unified, that is beloved to me. So I'm really honored and I'm really excited to accept and begin this new job. And I will do everything in my powers to exceed your expectations and surprise myself and just really have a good time with this. Bring the best instruction to every student in this district. So thank you.
Yes, President Mason, board members, for the position of curriculum specialist, I would like to recommend Van Lay. Van comes to us with a Bachelor's of Science from UC Davis. She also has a Master's from National University in Education. She currently is a teacher on special assignment in math at San Juan Unified School District. She also has been a second grade teacher in Davis Joint Union School District, as well as a science prep teacher in Davis Joint Unified School District, and also a first and second grade teacher in Davis. So I would like to recommend Van Lay for the position of curriculum specialist.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the appointment of Van Lay as curriculum specialist, as long as she's going to move here and live locally. She's up in Davis. That's not a condition. You can live wherever you want.
Thank you, board and Dr. Meyer. I don't have a prepared speech, and I'd like to keep things brief. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for Jennifer Sachs for bringing me on board to this team, and I look forward to coming to Mount Diablo. I don't know about the move yet. I do love David. And I'm really impressed to see the robotics team here tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appointment of internal auditor.
Yes. President Mason, Board of Education, I would like to recommend Isaac Williams for the position of internal auditor. Isaac comes to us with a Bachelor's of Science from CSU East Bay in Business Administration and Accounting. He has experience as an audit supervisor, a registered tax preparer, and a staff accountant and intern. And he also is affiliated with different organizations that increases knowledge in the accounting field. So with that, I would like to recommend Isaac Williams for the position of internal auditor.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the appointment of Isaac Williams as internal auditor.
Second.
Good evening. I'm really thankful for giving me this opportunity to join the school district, and I really look forward to working with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, we love internal auditors. They keep us honest, so we actually embrace this opportunity. It is a good thing.
We now have the appointment of a coordinator for the after-school program.
Yes, President Mason, Board of Education, I would like to recommend Eric Rigo for the position of Coordinator of After-School Programs. Eric comes to us with a Bachelor's of Science from Sacramento State University in Parks and Recreation Management. He is currently a program manager in our MDUSD CARES program, and he also has experience as a program manager in Bay Area Community Resources. He has been a school site coordinator for the City of Concord, a camp coordinator, and a program supervisor. And so with that, I would like to recommend Eric Rigo for the position of Coordinator of After-School Programs.
Madam President, I move that the board appoint approve the appointment of Derek Rigo as the coordinator of after-school programs.
Second.
Great.
I think you have a lot of people to introduce, so.
But first and foremost, I'd like to thank the board and also Superintendent Dr. Meyer. I will do everything in my power to not only make this district proud, but the community proud. It's all about the kids. I will make sure that our program is serving them to the best of our abilities. I'd like to thank my wife who's here, Gabby. And my daughter, Keith. Yeah, she's here. I'd like to thank Stephanie Roberts for her mentorship through this process. I'd like to thank Don Blasky for our personal and professional relationship, City of Concord. I'd like to thank my parents who are here, my grandmother, my aunt, my cousin, my in-laws, family and friends. I love you all. And most importantly, I do want to thank my after-school program staff that are here. This wouldn't be possible. It's a team effort, and I will do everything in my power for you guys as well to make sure that we're all successful together. Thank you.
And now, appointment of Assistant Building and Grounds Manager.
Yes, President Mason, Board of Education, I would like to recommend Jeff West for the position of Assistant Building and Grounds Manager. He comes to us with a Bachelor's of Science from CSU Sacramento, and he also was an alum from DVC, Diablo Valley College. He currently is an area facility manager. He also has experience as a groundskeeper, a receiving supervisor, as well as an asset manager and desktop support. So very well-rounded. And with that, I recommend Jeff West for Assistant Building and Grounds Manager.
I remember Port Chicago. Yeah, I remember.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the appointment of Assistant Building and Grounds Manager Jeff West.
Second.
Defer to Mrs. Stern.
Thank you, Board, Dr. Meyer. I'm also very grateful to get this position. I'm looking forward to putting my best foot forward to help maintenance and operations as well as the schools. Thank you very much.
Now we are, the highlight of the night here, our student reps. You want to start us off?
Good evening, President Mason.
Okay, wait till we get to our reports and it completely.
I say whatever works. Otherwise, they're focused on me.
Yeah.
It's okay, we can.
President Mason, board members, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, members, Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Elijah Gonzalez, and I'm a service representative from College Now program. To start off, College Now is preparing for its first graduation ceremony. It will be held next Thursday, May 29th at 6 p.m. in the Diablo Room at BBC. And we'll love for you guys to go. So I brought some invitation. So it has the ceremony information inside, and then more information to how to get to the place. So I'll be send them this way. Okay, you get one. This week is our last week. It also means that finals are here. And there's a lot of studying for students, and that's why unfortunately I have to leave early because college finals are not something you want to play with. And then Friday will be our last day to celebrate Friday will be our last day, and to celebrate seniors, we'll be starting a tradition with future College Now generation. We'll have a scrapbook, and each page will have a picture of the graduating class with the student signatures, and hopefully one day we can look back to them. Our cohort 3 is now ready to start their journey in our program. They have all their paperwork done and they have registered for their classes. Last but not least, the College Now Club had their elections last Friday, and we selected William Hughes as our president and Dean De La Monta as our vice president. With this club, we hope that our students can have a chance to connect with college students and give them an opportunity to participate in the campus events. Thank you. Excuse me, I go back to studying.
That's fine. Thank you. And you guys usually know what order you're going in, so go for it.
You sure you don't want to try? That's fine.
We'll see you next week.
Good evening, President Mason, board members, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, members of the Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Christina Young, and I'm the student representative from Ignacio Valley High School, as well as Noelle Garcia, who is sitting right there. She's very nervous. Okay, so at Ignacio Valley, we've had a lot going on these last couple of months. I personally have not come in a couple months because I've been very busy, but we've had other people come. So this month, on May 9th, we had Warrior Recognition. So for recognition, we took our students with a GPA of 3.8 or higher to the Avid Learning Aids game. So the day was filled with laughs, baseball sing-alongs, including the famous Take Me Out to the Ball game, many fun games, and very interesting talks with the workers in the stadium about their careers and what they do in the stadium. On May 8th, we reclassified 32 ELD students. We want to congratulate them on all of their. We want to congratulate all of them on the reclassification. Go Warriors! On May 11th, the League of Women Voters came to register girls to vote. We want our students to get involved and use their voice. We are the next generation, so let's do something great. On May 12th, on a Saturday, our band and orchestra went to a music festival called CMEA. I'm sure they had a great time, especially the seniors in those classes, since obviously that's probably their last festival. Our music program continues and will continue to strive. May 14th through the 18th, we had our Spirit Week, which consisted of Game Day, Warrior Pride, Meme/Vine Day, Called Shirt Day, and 90s Day. There was a lack of participation due to the lack of knowledge, so we definitely need to work on getting the word out. So, Avid and Education Award Night. Award night for academies are really great because they award kids for their achievements in the academies that they take. So we think recognizing our students helps them to continue doing the great things that they do on campus. On May 15th, our amazing Link crew got together and bonded before the days of training in the summer. Our Link crew program does a great job of welcoming our freshmen and giving them advice for the school year. We also had our Health Academy Awards night that night too. On May 17th, we had our Senior Award Night, and our seniors did a really great job when it came to scholarships. We're really proud of them, and we hope to wish them the best in their career paths and college itself. On Friday, May 18th, our rally was our goodbye rally, and it was our last rally of the year. Our theme was arcade, and it was really good. Our freshmen were Tetris, sophomores were Donkey Kong, juniors were Pac-Man, and the seniors were Mario. Our rally was a whopping hour and 15 minutes, and the students enjoyed it thoroughly. On Thursday, May 24th, our seniors will have their senior walk. It's a day when seniors go to their old elementary schools in their cap and gowns, and they tell the elementary school students about their experiences and stories of high school and how they will continue their path in their careers. Prom. Prom is on June 2nd, and our theme is Masquerade. We will be having our prom at the Scottish Rite Center in Oakland. It's absolutely beautiful. Our students will have transportation there and back, as well as a seated dinner of Caesar salad, tri-tip, green beans, and mashed potatoes. Personally, I can't wait because as a junior, this is my first year. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you guys again next year.
Good evening, President Mason, members of the board, Superintendent Meyer, Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Laura Garcia Miller, and I'm the future ASB Vice President for Concord High School. Recently at CHS, our choir program has returned from their Seattle tour in which Ladies First won the gold and Show Choir won the silver. To wrap up the school year, Ladies First held an ice cream social to help raise funds for their program on the 14th, and auditions for the following year were on the 15th, 16th, and 18th. Additionally, Show Choir is having their auditions this week. Prior to these auditions, Show Choir went around to elementary schools such as Wren Avenue, El Monte, Ayers, and Westwood to perform for the students and staff. On May 5th, band had a competition in which all three ensembles won superior. Guitar and piano also had their own recital recently. Other than performing at graduation, they are pretty much wrapping everything up for the year. However, I am proud to report that our orchestra is the biggest it has ever been. Our drama program has also just recently finished up their spring musical, Grease, after 6 performances over the span of 2 weeks. During an invitational at Akalani's, some of our track members beat their personal bests and later went on to NCS. On May 12th, there was a DAL league meet between all schools in the league. At this point, our track team is done for the year. Both our softball and baseball teams won their league games and are moving on to NCS once again. The softball team went through the whole season almost undefeated, with a total record of 9-1. They will have their first game of NCS this Wednesday, the 23rd, at 5 on our new home field against Ukiah. The baseball team will also have their first round game on Wednesday against Casa Grande at 5 on their field. As far as boys volleyball goes, our JV team went through the season with only 2 losses. Our varsity team also has 2 wins against Mount Diablo and 1 win against YV. They are also done with their season. After 3 years, our school has finally had a boys tennis team again. This year, one of our biggest rivals was Mount Diablo. On April 19th, our tennis team beat them. As a matter of fact, with only 10 people, our team almost made it to NCS, and of those 10 people, one of the freshmen was a nominee for MVP for NCS. As far as our boys golf team goes, they have yet to win a game, but have most definitely come close. Nonetheless, they have continued to persevere and do their best, even through league, which is all we can really ask for. And last but not least, leadership, my favorite part. As many of our spring events, such as our talent show, multicultural rally, fine arts week, clash of the classes, spirit week, and open house have finished up, we have moved on to planning for the next year, while also working on the final things for the last few weeks of this school year. For the first time ever, we have brought one of our most popular winter events, Cocoa and Cramming, back for the spring. Now it is called Lemonade and Learning. Over the past 2 weeks, our students have been doing AP tests and started moving towards finals. The purpose of Lemonade and Learning is to help students with any remaining assignments and finals prep to ensure their success. It will last from today, the 21st, to Friday the 25th, and Thursday the 31st to Friday, June 1st. Furthermore, our sophomore students have been working on our annual spring fling, in which clubs sell food in our quad to help raise money for their programs. This will take place during lunch this Friday, May 25th. Luckily, 99.7 has agreed to play music and interact with the students during this event as well. At this time, a new club, the High Five and Garden Club, consisting of several special ed students, will join the others. Our seniors are also working on graduation preparations, including the senior slideshow that is shown to commemorate their time spent at Concord High School over the past 4 years, and senior awards, which is happening now as I speak to all of you, to recognize all of the individuals within their class. Our Spirit Shack Committee has also continued to go above and beyond. Aside from working on new gear for the following school year, they have also worked with our school treasurer to be able to use a credit card machine at future events for those who do not always carry cash. They have also created a magazine of sorts that incorporates all designs, sizes, and prices. During lunches, many students not only sell gear in the quad, but move around as to make things more accessible for everyone on campus.
Finally, many of our students are also looking forward to our Moving Up rally that will take place in our quad next Friday, June 1st. We will have all 4 classes seated together where we plan to do various activities and close with the movement of each of the individual classes to symbolize their next step for the following years. Thank you all so much for listening, and go Minutemen.
Good evening, President Mason, board members, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, members of Superintendent Council, and members of the audience. My name is Annalise Corona, and I'm a student representative for Gateway High School. We had another potluck on Friday where teachers brought dishes. We also have more early graduates and students who have worked hard all year graduating on time. Today we went to a field trip to the movies in Concord where we watched Deadpool 2.
Good evening, President Mason, board members, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, members of Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Gracie Benamou, and I'm a student representative for Northgate High School. We recently had our boys varsity volleyball team play in NCS, and unfortunately they lost, but only by 2 points. Our dance production show was held, and it actually had their last performance last Friday. Our band at our school performed at Yoshi's, which was very exciting. And we're finishing up CAS tests at the moment, so we have block periods all this week, and then so we're finishing up basically the math section. And last Friday we had our Moving On Up rally where all the grades move up to the bleachers, which is very moving. And the seniors, I know, sorry. And the seniors go sit on the floor and they watch a slideshow that's presented of all the pictures that have basically been their past memories of the people surrounding them. And senior projects and senior project presentations are coming up next week, so the schools have minimum days while the seniors present their projects that they've been working really hard on all year. And thank you so much for your time.
Dr. Meyer, I was thinking of maybe moving up the robotics to now, since it seems like it follows nice flow. So we'll go skip to the report on robotics, since that is also students reporting. Sorry to take you by surprise there.
That's all good. Hi, I'm Shauna Hawes. Nice to see you all. And this time, instead of bringing you presents, I brought you kids. And they may have brought you presents, I think. So I don't know if you would remember this, but last year we had one high school robotics team. And this year we are so proud that with the support of Endeavor, we have 3. And so the kids are going to talk. I know, right? The kids are going to talk, but I think they're bringing their robot out real quick first. And Jason, I want to tell you, you're up first. And you have to come over here.
You want to go first? Let's go.
Come on, Saeed. Okay, so the order of events will be College Park and Concord and YB.
Test this one. Okay. Should I wait for them to set up for?
No. No, they want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, good evening, board, and thank you for this opportunity to share our journey over the past year. Our second year participating in FIRST has been a year of growth. This year, we tried our best to address the question, how do we educate our new members in preparation for FIRST? Out of the 35 active members we had at the peak of the build season, only 7 had continued from last year. We were basically rookies again, but less rookies, because now we also have close friends at YB and Concord. Our journey to answer this question has led us through attempting to develop a curriculum for our club, trying to build a practice pink whale robot that plays like a real pet, and ultimately the build season itself. In the middle of the build season, however, we had approached our lowest and most difficult point. At this point, we were not projected to complete the robot in the remaining time, and we were in great need of guidance. It was during this time that we learned how incredibly important it is to have enough humility to say, we, the veteran team, need help. We reached out to our friends at Ignacio Valley, and they were quite literally our saving grace. Their students, teachers, and mentors have been incredibly helpful and hospitable to our team, offering us guidance, and even allowing our entire team to work in their woodshop when we weren't able to meet in ours during the final weekend. We weren't just saved by YV, however. It also took the dedication and effort of our teachers and parents who helped to provide counsel, membership, and food for our team. And of course, it also took the blood, sweat, and tears of the students who willingly took on the challenge of expanding our schedule during the last 2 weeks of the build season, meeting from 3 to 8 p.m. every day after school and all day on weekends. Having had discussions with our school's administration, teachers, the Pleasant Hill Education Commission, the Foundation for Pleasant Hill Education, and potential mentors within our community, it has become unanimously agreed upon that to ensure the stability of this program at College Park High School, we need a team of dedicated mentors to help educate and guide our students. At this moment, can I have the one page, please? So, you can go ahead, sir. A one-page document outlining our needs is currently being distributed to you. We hope that you are willing to enter the conversation regarding engineering mentorship at College Park High School. This is our story from this year. We embraced our failures, and despite the challenges, this program has had a huge positive impact on our lives. Oh, and also, one of the things that I am personally most proud of is how diverse our team has become this year. 40% of our members are female, and this statistic will only rise in the coming year. The majority of our members this year are freshmen and sophomores who will continue this effort next year. We are grateful to have this opportunity here at College Park, and we are abundantly excited for what the future has in store. Thank you, and go Falcons.
It's compressing.
It's okay.
Please.
President Mason, School Board, Dr. Meyer, and yes, I'd like to listen to that. You know, really, all I brought to the table is I guess I made pancakes. We have a wonderful mentor, John Burgum, who's here tonight to support, and I'd like to introduce Nathan Dauphiné, who we call Texas, who was the leader of this merry band.
Good evening. First off, I'd like to say we've had the honor to collaborate with two different teams, College Park and YV. It was a really fulfilling rookie year for us. We got to work with awesome mentors such as Mr. T and John Burgum. We learned a lot of different skills that we would need. We also got to work as a team. It was really challenging year for us. Definitely challenging because we had to get our team all well-rounded. We had to work together to achieve the competition goal. We made these keychains as a thanks to these teams, College Park and YV, for our collaboration together. So I will pass these out to you guys too.
See how well trained they are?
We heard Sean was going to be here. We had to rush.
Hello.
Hello.
I am Cyril. I came here last time around, and I'm speaking on behalf of Ignacio Valley High School's robotics team. However, I will not be the one speaking to you. We will be, I don't know if you guys remember, but I was here with a colleague of mine. She has blonde hair. But we are passing on the mantle to our members now, and they will be the ones speaking to you. Thank you.
Good evening, President Mason, board members, Superintendent Dr. Nellie Meyer, members of the Superintendent Council, and the audience. My name is Angelo Aquino, and I'm the mechanical lead for the Project 212 robotics team. The first thing I want to say is we're thankful for giving us the opportunity to go to Houston, Texas to compete in the first robotics global championship. This gave some new experiences to our team members. Some of us haven't traveled by plane, and some haven't even gone to another state. This year, I made new memories, and some I will never forget. For one, I've bonded with other team members and mentors. I met Alyssa, one of the mechanical engineers for Fresenius. She's given me the opportunity to explore my ideas and support my building, while letting me do things on my own court. For some people, it's hard meeting new people, but robotics gave us the chance to meet new people outside the grade and our comfort zone. That bond became to treating all of our team members like family. Everyone always has each other's backs, and robotics gave us the chance to show what we can truly do with our hands-on experience. We're thankful for everything, and you all have truly given us strongly foundation for beginning of many more successful seasons to come. Thank you.
Good evening, President Mason, Dr. Meyer, and board members, also the audience. I would just like to talk to you guys on a personal matter, no script, no nothing, for the experience you guys allowed us to take. Allowing us to go to Houston, I really got to meet people from all over the country, all over the world. People from Britain, people from France, people from even Turkey, all over the world came down to Houston, Texas to join in this community and in this participation for what they call a sport, but what I like to call a bonding. I got to learn so much from everybody, from teachers who supposedly didn't even touch the robot, but they actually did a lot by giving us the best advice that we could possibly have. Engineers that gave us the most insight that I've ever had. I actually had to have personal experiences with almost all engineers that were mentoring us in our team. Two of my mentors, Jack and another named Hanley, have encouraged me to go into a field of electrical engineering and following the STEM field or anything of that higher curriculum. Robotics has brought almost everything that I've never thought I've had. Robotics has given me the opportunity from a poverty family, or a family usually of crime, always subordinate of minority, and shut down of these disadvantages. For robotics has brought to me the availability of not using money, of not having anything to do with what my past had. They give me a chance for the future, a chance to go on to the further generation, and I thank you extremely for all you have given me. So, thank you.
Hey, which one's out here first? Oh, that's so nice of you. They just want to show you a little bit. Yeah. We're just recovering. Yeah. I know, right?
You want to go here?
Take your guys' place.
Make sure second.
Okay, do you want to tell them what it's supposed to This is not Battleground.
I'll give you.
I think we're out of air.
Come on, guys, there's hot air out here.
Yeah.
Something got caught. So will you really quickly tell them what the robot is supposed to do? What the competition was going to have in it?
Okay. You guys want to do yours first?
Go ahead.
As we explained the first time when we came around, our robot, I'm the electrical lead, so that's what my profession in this robot has done. I've set up the board or everything that you can see that lights up in there and allows it to move and power. Basically what our robot and what the agenda of the game is supposed to do is there's a massive teeter-totter that's 7 feet high that our robot is supposed to go all the way up and take this little piece right here and put it into our corresponding aligned side. The objective of the game is to get as many cubes onto your corresponding side of the teeter-totter to where it will still for the amount of and we get points per second. So what we went for was obviously a massive teeter-totter that all the way up, and then let me show you. And then it shoots right back into the teeter-totter. The same agenda also goes to Shark. They have the same objective, of course, different mechanics. Yeah, so it's just a great day.
You know, Dr. Meyer, the other night I was thinking about robotics people because they're starting to use robots for security to go out perimeter because it's safer. And I thought, our kids could design their own security system for us.
My name is Peter Kim, and I was.
Gotta be at the microphone, Peter. I'm sorry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Kim. I was on the mechanical team. I'm also the vice president of Falcon X. As they explained, this year's this year's game included moving a cube all the way 7 feet high. And so we built a very similar robot to theirs, but we took a different approach using different kind of bearings and different cascading systems compared to YB. And so ours was able to reach all the way up to the maximum height at the competition and move around the cube successfully.
Apparently we're gonna wait, Peter, we're gonna borrow a cube.
Have you named your robots?
It's a very interesting story.
Will.
Leo. Seven on the 7 backwards and upside down.
Oh.
Okay.
Well,
Even robots get nervous.
Right. No, it's just a cube or not. What I like. Strong. It's a tired one.
It hasn't rained in a while.
Where are you gonna air my? Hey guys.
Thank you so much. I shared at the last meeting, but I'll share again. When we had our career pathways, I know it's hard to compete with a robot, but we had our career pathways showcase, and all of the cardiologists were coming out in full gear because it was held at John Muir Health, and they were stopping in the middle or right after their surgery, and they were getting instructed by our robotics students here on how everything worked, and they were so excited. They were like, "Ooh, how does that work? How does that work?" And so it was just wonderful to see our students sharing with the medical staff at John Muir Health how their robotics worked. So it was very impressive.
And really, I just want to add one more thing. They had 6 weeks to build these robots, start to finish. So that's all they had. So what you see is pretty amazing. Good job.
Now we're to those riveting board member picks. Start here. You could probably like check off a lot of ours, and then we could just say, we've been there.
Okay. I'll go down the line here. Yeah. So many of us, again, were at the April 25th, the You Make a Difference Awards. This is longer than so I'm sure everyone will talk about it. It's a wonderful tribute to so many people that support our special education students. And what I remember a big takeaway was how everyone, almost to a person, talked about how their lives have been enriched by working with these students. It was really wonderful. I attended a speaker luncheon hosted by East Bay Leadership Council, which gave us an opportunity to hear the candidates for the state superintendent of public instruction and also for the Contra Costa County Office of Education Superintendent. So very informative. May 3rd was the Positive Behavior Intervention Support Showcase at Fonda Gardens, which was really fun because you can see, so each school had a table talking about their PBIS program at their site, and there was a lot of sharing. I mean, I think it was really energizing for all the participants to learn strategies and talk to each other. And so clearly it's working. You know, clearly people are very, and I specifically asked what are the differences you're seeing, and people couldn't talk about that. So it's really good to see the number of schools growing that are doing PBIS. So thank you, Lisa. As Dr. Meyer mentioned, May 4th was actually the annual Career Pathways Showcase. I think it was bigger than ever because we added elementary and middle school students and teachers. You know, so what I could see is that the concept of a pathway was really taking hold because now we're talking from elementary to the middle on to high school. And you can just see, as Dr. Mike might like, students are so engaged. I mean, they're a little uncomfortable sometimes having to talk in this situation, but they know their stuff. And just ask them a few questions. They're really very, I mean, I'm talking about some of the young ones in particular, just, you know, you can see that it's learning by an applied way is making a huge difference. So I just want to thank Sharon Jenkins from John Muir for hosting John Muir for us. It's a great location for this. Other member, part of the team that puts this event on is Marilyn Fowler from the Executive Director of Concord Chamber. There were a lot of chamber board members there as well, so that was really good to see. And it was embedded in this day was the actual Career Pathway Advisory Committee meeting. So it was an efficient use of space and time. So some of us attended the Teacher of the Year reception at the County Office of Education. So they asked teachers to talk about someone who inspired them as a teacher. So many of them talked about teachers they had when they were younger. So that was interesting to see. And then Mount Diablo's Kelly Perkins of Ignacio Valley High School and Roseanne Reed of Northgate High School represented us very nicely. On May 8th was CSEA's classified employee reception at Olympic High School. Really good food. I accepted an invitation from Ignacio Valley Elementary where their 5th graders were putting on Aladdin. Just have to love Aladdin. So I decided to go, and what I learned, it was fabulous. It was so well done. But I learned that they had received a 3-year grant from the Bay Area Children's Theater, which I guess provides lots of support, including the music, help with the props. The parents made costumes, and they did a fabulous job. Again, many of us were at this year's annual Academy Awards. I have to say Guy Moore and Dr. Meyer did a fabulous job of hosting it. And it's just such a great evening to recognize people in so many parts of our district, teachers, classified staff, support staff, parents, students, and community members. And there was this kind of hat theme going on that was kind of fun.
I'm sure there's a picture.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll see more pictures of various hats. So that was kind of fun. So yeah, I'll tell you more about that. And then I think that maybe it's mentioned that Dr. Meyer was reinstated as principal for a day in Mount Diablo Unified. So I had the opportunity to visit Monty Gardens Elementary to shadow and learn from Principal Erin Fairholm. I didn't really know her, and so it was really great. She's such a kind of a deep thinker, thoughtful person, and really knowledgeable, and takes her job very seriously there. So there were lots of great things going on. So I took pictures, and all this stuff is on my Facebook page for Mount Diablo High School Board position. Then there was a luncheon, a culminating luncheon, where people could share out their experience. So we had business representatives, elected officials, who all were principal for a day. And so I think 3 or 4 of them talked about, what they learned and what they got out of it. So I think it was a great inauguration of this wonderful event. So we're going to do it again next year, right? So, and then 17th, last Thursday, was the retirement reception held at Serendipity. I think we had 101 retirees, and I just want to also thank Chef Kevin and Chef Debbie for and the students at International Hospitality and Tourism Serendipity for really wonderful appetizers and desserts. Thank you.
Ms. Hanson?
Okay, you don't want me to repeat everything. I'll just enhance a couple of things. I ditto on almost all those events. We also had a CAC meeting back a couple weeks ago, and I always just love to go there because there's a full house and they're very participatory. That's our special ed parents. One thing I enjoyed at the retirement reception was to talk to Chef Debbie afterwards, and it's actually on our agenda tonight. We were talking about, because Serendipity's a great institution. It's a great restaurant program in our district, and it's gone on for decades, and something we're very proud of. And what I appreciated was the opportunity to stand there and talk with her as all this stuff, it's very dark in Serendipity and stuff's hanging off the ceilings. And we talked about how they're going to redecorate. And I was really excited about that. The 2 other pieces I still want to see is a facelift in the front and a better parking lot. But, you've got a drainage ditch that can take out front bumpers of your car when you're driving into their parking lot. But they're going to do just some really nice things inside that restaurant to just brighten it up, to modernize it, and it's really going to be a nice enhancement. And I think that's a program we should applaud and showcase every chance we get, because what they do with the students is amazingly professional. A lot of what those students do, especially when it comes to cakes and pastries. I love how the kids go and specialize in cake decoration or pastries. So I saw it then on the agenda for tonight, and I thought that was great. I also enjoyed going to Mount Diablo Elementary the other day, and I'm glad Dr. Meyer brought that back, Principal for a Day. It's a wonderful community participation, and she got a great group of not just those. I mean, I love going in because I was a principal, and it's great to go in for one day and get to leave. I didn't have to stay, and it wasn't my school, so if something happened, I went, I'm sorry, I'm not really the principal. It's kind of a nice feeling, but I went to Mount Diablo Elementary, and Dawn Edwards did not tell me a word that she would be leaving. But the school is in the process of, one of the things we're doing out there is going to be a great project that's going to enhance the fields out at Mount Diablo Elementary. And kids out there are so darn active. They're always moving. They're out on the field. They're moving around. They're doing all these hand-eye coordination things. It's a very active school. What is also great is the number of parents who are just there during the day assisting kids as volunteers in terms of really leading them through some of the activities that they're doing. So we were out looking at the field and seeing how nice it's going to be not to have gopher holes that break your ankle and things like that for the kids. So that'll be great when that gets rolling. Also, it's been so long since we had a board meeting, I realized. We had a bike rodeo out in Bay Point at Riverview, and I think the principal out there probably works 48 hours straight just helping the sheriff's department do this. And they had 500 bikes this year. I'm sure Mrs. Mason, she's been involved in this longer than I have. I've only gone the last couple of years. But 500 bikes went in a heartbeat, and the kids are also given a helmet and some bike safety lessons. And it's a huge turnout and an amazing effort by the sheriff's department out in that part of our county. And other than that, I think that's, oh yeah, the Academy Awards, we're going to have a really embarrassing picture, I'm sure, with us in various hats. No, we're not. Oh, she couldn't take our picture, thank you. I myself am only known for one thing, and that's Dr. Pepper. So I was given a pepper hat. You like that? Yeah, Dr. Pepper, I know. So they gave me a pepper hat, and I said, well, it's nice to be known for something. Unfortunately, it wasn't a Dr. Pepper hat. It was an actual pepper. It wasn't quite the same. A chili pepper was not quite the same to have on your head as, you know, something with a logo. But it was great fun, and I appreciate, that's Guy Moore, our Medea president, who really began this thing about 5 years ago, and it's continued on, and it will continue on long past all the rest of us. So it's a great event and a great celebration. That's it.
Thank you, Christine. Mayo?
You got a fan out there now.
I had the pleasure. I had the pleasure of joining all of you in those events, and I enjoyed them very much as well. I did attend the Pleasant Hill Community Foundation reception that they held in April. And I just wanted to share that the foundation, that's different than the Education Foundation. The Community Foundation gave $1,000 to the College Park High School Grad Night Committee and another $500 for STEM projects at Fair Oaks Elementary. So if you see folks from that particular foundation, please thank them for those funds for our schools. I was able to attend the Special Education Lobby Day with the Mount Diablo CAC members. I want to share how articulate, factual, and passionate they were, and how they shared the effects of current funding and how students will benefit with appropriate funding with all of our legislators. We addressed in particular AB 3136, which would increase special education funding, and for Mount Diablo School District, it would provide $6 million for funds that are not currently covered from funding sources. So it would be of great benefit to our district. It was a great day, and we felt that policymakers and their aides were listening to us, which was a nice change, and ask any CAC member or me for further information about the legislation. I just wanted to share that AB 3136 has been endorsed by the members of the Education Coalition. So Mr. Lawrence saw the information here, and I'll pass it around so you can look at it. The other thing that I participated in this weekend was the delegate assembly meeting for CSBA. At the each of you at your desk has a 12-page document that's a summary of the materials that we reviewed or took action on. And then I also have a supplement of the handouts that were provided if you're interested in it. And then there are 2 documents that I did not print if you are interested in, which are the CSBA positions on all of the pieces of legislation and also the Education Legal Alliance positions on different court cases that are involved. At the delegate assembly, the body of 350 members took an opposed position on 2 propositions that will be on the November ballot entitled Residential Property Taxes and Supermajority Requirement for Tax Measures, and both of those are included in that report. And primarily this position was because of the harm to public schools and Prop 98 by these propositions should they pass. We were updated on 6 CSBA-sponsored bills, along with the CSBA position on important bills, which I just shared with you. Mrs. Maher will have the entire collection electronically and can provide it to you by print if you would like. The challenge with us is we can't share documents as freely. They have to be shared at the meeting because it could be considered a violation of the Brown Act. And we can provide copies to anyone in the public who would want one. And an important piece in there was the Education Legal Alliance update was provided, which included a support position on a charter school matter that's before the courts now. The Office of the General Counsel from CSBA reviewed the Janus case, which is the representation among labor groups, with some of the many potential challenges that will happen should the position be changed. And that ruling is coming in June. And I want to share that school districts throughout California must update board policies to conform with AB 699 and the Attorney General's requirements on immigration policies by July 1st, 2018. CSBA worked with the Attorney General's office to develop the sample policies, of which there are 11 policies that are affected by this bill. And the policies were just released on March 30th, so we have a very short time frame in order to be able to adopt these by July 1st. I'm sure we have many of the pieces in our policies as well, but it requires a review. And there's a complete list in your packets there. In approximately 2 weeks, CSBA will be providing an update on a retired document that's entitled What It Takes to Lead the Role and Function of California's School Boards. It will be available online and it will be used for districts when they're doing candidate orientations and for access by the public for people that may be interested in running for school board, because this was a document that was requested by the delegate assembly members to help inform members of the public what our role is and that it really does take a little bit of work. Other reports included a report from the Charter Schools Task Force. It's one of the final documents in this packet, if you're interested in it, which will be published this summer, and efforts on the full and fair funding campaign, for which we adopted a support resolution, and further voter survey results. There are, as you would expect, voters are not very knowledgeable about public education and how it's funded, and it's going to take a education campaign to inform voters about the importance of public education and its funding. There was a federal report, and I want to remind you that the Leadership Institute will be held in San Francisco on July 13th and 14th. If you register by May 23rd, there's a $50 discount, and the emphasis is on a STEM focus, and they have some very exciting speakers lined up. Dr. Gloria Ponce Rodriguez from Fresno Unified spoke at 7 o'clock on Sunday morning about the various resources available to minority students for all types of post-secondary education experiences. And many of the opportunities she shared were full ride scholarships for students of color and who were from an ethnic minority. And they're from all different kinds of colleges and universities, what they call baby Ivies, the regular Ivy League schools, and even Harvard. A student, person of color, is eligible for certain types of scholarships, even with a lower GPA than you would expect. So it was a very informative presentation, and she is willing to provide resources to school districts throughout the state of California if we're interested in having her information from Fresno Unified and the presentations she makes for students there. I had the opportunity to participate at Strandwood Elementary for principal for a day, and we visited every classroom, toured the school facility, discussed drainage problems on all of our school campuses, because I think that when our schools were first built, we ended up with the worst piece of property in every development where there was a drainage problem. So they will be contacting Measure C about an improvement they would like to have there, and I certainly remember the project in an earlier situation. And we talked extensively about the development of the brain, and in particular children's brains. And it's not just the academic study that helps a child's brain develop, it's also physical activity and the interaction with adults, sounds, stimulation of many kinds. And so it was a great conversation that we had that day. So that concludes my report for right now. Thank you. Mr. Lawrence?
Thank you. So first, I thank and have a great deal of appreciation for my colleagues who are able to attend many more events than I am, but I know the board is always well represented, so I appreciate that. There was some dissension in the Lawrence household because I was not principal for a day. My children had some big ideas and some changes they were looking forward to seeing being implemented, but that was not able to happen, but it sounds like you all did a fine job. So instead of going through events, I do just want to touch on a couple of subjects. One, I was reminded again tonight, and I think something that this board should take a look at is how we elect trustees that in a large district, both from a representation standpoint, a legal standpoint, and a governance standpoint. I think that it would behoove us to look at a model where we had geographic representation, and I think it would produce more diversity amongst our board and have some other advantages. So I do believe that is something that our board should look at. That is one thing. Two, I wanted to touch on the topic of charter high schools. You may have noticed that at Clayton Valley Charter High School that there has been some change in the leadership, which one is long overdue. But I think it puts a spotlight on the fact that charter high schools or charter schools do not operate under the same rules as the rest of public schools, and that they are funded with taxpayer money, and yet they are, certainly Clayton Valley, although there have been friends of our family who've had positive educational experience and athletic experience there, it is a school which has consistently flouted the Brown Act, which has amassed a large surplus of funds which seem to be used to expand a corporate educational empire versus being spent in student best interest, which lacks accountability and oversight. And so that is something that I believe I would certainly hope that our assembly members, Grayson and Baker, as well as Senator Glazer, would be looking at. And then I wanted to also touch on the topic of sex education, since we've been hearing about that for several weeks. I myself am the parent of a 5th grader, and so first I wanted to say I believe that the the curriculum should have been brought, and I've talked to the superintendent, it should have come to this board. That needs to not happen again where that process plays out the way it did, and I apologize for that. However, I've taken the time to review the materials. I've talked to my child, I've talked to other parents, and I've talked to a teacher at my child's school. And I think there's also some misinformation going around. And I'm certainly happy to engage in dialogue with parents and concerned members about this. But then I've also received emails which have been bigoted and intolerant. And I will read briefly one of the ones and my response to it. So the parent email, and I've only edited out some of the personally identifying information, wrote,
Are we okay with Brown Act stuff here? It's a board report, but it's something that was other public comment, and
It was something that was sent to him.
okay,
They could-
just want to make sure. Just go ahead.
Upon registration of my children, I was given the opportunity to consent for a course offered in health class, including sexuality education. I consented for both children as the content was explained as teaching essentially the, quote, birds and bees. I was never made aware that alternate sexuality would be discussed. I learned that LGBTQ issues were being taught to both of my children. With foreknowledge of this content, I would have either not consented or requested my children to be removed from class when these issues are discussed. Sorry, I'm having to read from my phone. I am absolutely furious. I should have been given the opportunity to review and overview the content on the consent. These issues are controversial and should be discussed within the context of the home and the parent's worldview. I do not subscribe to the LGBTQ agenda in sense that I was not notified prior to my children being exposed to these issues without my presence to answer their questions. If abortion is going to be discussed, I revoke my consent for my children and have notified the respective teachers of the same. It is my understanding that many of the board members are elected officials. I have just updated my registration to vote in local Contra Costa elections. It appears that many of you have served your term to end in 2018. I will be at the polling place and will vote my conscience. The tax dollars that I contribute should fund a quality education that gives parents the choice to select what controversial issues are taught to his or her children. I will be writing letters to the editor to every local paper that I can find in Contra Costa that falls within this school district. It is my request that an outline of content be provided to each parent prior to giving consent, an informed consent. Homosexuality is an abomination. I have taught my children conservative views and do not want them confused. If Darwinism is being taught, I request that an alternate theory be taught or allow my children to skip these lessons without penalty. My response, thank you for your email. All members of the school board are elected. I won't be up for election in 2018, but 3 board seats will be. If I'm ever on the ballot again, please feel free to vote for someone else. There is not a LGBTQ agenda being taught. There are basic scientific and biological facts that are being taught. Declaring homosexuality an abomination does not make these facts any less of a reality. Every child, regardless of sexual orientation or gender, deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. Bigotry, ignorance, and intolerance are a threat to a safe and productive learning environment. We will continue to teach fact-based science in our classrooms. That includes evolution. Thank you.
All right. So I went to many of the events that my colleagues have talked about. I visited Rio Vista one day where Chef Cindy was there cooking with the kids. That was fun. I was principal for the Day of Bel Air, which was my alumni. That's where I went to elementary school. So I'm like, I spent 6 years trying to stay out of the principal's office to go back and spend a day in the principal's office. But it was fun. I always like hanging out with the kids. The bike rodeo, I want to thank Dr. Meyer and Trustee Hansen for coming. I'm making Eric a doctor now. Mr. Wood for the hours and hours he went, and we even had the principal from Mountain View, which is Brent Brinkerhoff. He came and visited, which was very nice. And the Mount Devil High School students provided free lunch for all of the participants that day. So it was a very successful day. Another big day in Bay Point was on the 12th. We had a mural project, and a muralist come up from San Diego, an artist that worked with the community and the kids and painted a fantastic mural at Shore Acres Elementary. So if you ever get a chance, go by there and look at it. It's stunning. I went to the opening of Federal Glover's office. We were invited, and that was in April. I went to the Healthy and Active Before 5 meeting, which the emphasis was on affordable housing for our families. I went to 2 of the Racial Justice Task Force community forums and facilitated speaking groups at those forums where I represent Mount Diablo Unified School District, and we're getting ready to make our recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. And other than that, all of my events would have been repetition. So we'll go to Dr. Meyer.
Thank you. I appreciate all the comments that you all have made. And I have brought some audio visual, mostly visual. So to start off, this was a project that was done in one of our elementary schools for Mother's Day. And that on the left, you see a mother's reaction to her project on Mother's Day. So just a beautiful photo. Wanted to start with that. And it has been a very busy month. Because we haven't had a board meeting in a while, a lot of different activities going on. Let me move it, make sure. There we go. Okay, I'm going to put this on. It relates to a lot of the work that we do, and you'll see it until you can dream it. But it is something that our schools have been honing in on, and the belief that it is our obligation, our responsibility, our imperative to prepare students for success upon graduation by providing high expectations and challenge for all. So you'll even be able to paraphrase it. But now for the pictures. The You Make a Difference Awards is put on by the Community Advisory Committee, a fantastic group, and they worked very hard on the presentations, and in the fall, the students received the awards, and then in the spring, the adults received the award. So it's a wonderful presentation you can see here. I don't know if you can, but in the top is Dr. Wendy Agili, and she did a great review of where we are in our district's demographics. And then on the bottom left is the award that our HOPE group, our Homeless Opportunity Program, homeless youth, and they received a plaque for their entire team. And then just, you can see here some of the awards up on the stage and the decorations, and it was just a wonderful, heartfelt event. Wanted to also share that as we look at post-secondary success, we are looking at success not just through a university, but also through trade organizations. So we thought we would start with our counselors. So we took our 60 counselors, and Stephanie Roberts led this event, and we went to 3 of the centers that we have in the local area: Richmond, Concord, and Benicia. And so it was a wonderful event. The counselors had no idea. They were very excited, and we learned a lot. One of the things that I found fascinating and that we talked about is that they said that the women make the best welders. And I just want to put it out there, they do. And they said one of the reasons is that attention to detail, and not myself necessarily, but others apparently have that. And the other thing was that they could easily get inside of little different spaces. So, part of it was size, but part of it was something that they saw. So that was a fascinating thing. But we had a great partnership established, and we're going to continue to work on that. We also had some other things going on, and this was so long ago, but Wellness Day at Northgate, they had an all-day event on the weekend. And they did, they had hikes, they had yoga, they had meditation, they had James Wogan, they had all sorts of things that symbolize wellness in our community. And so, Give Back Hope, you can see here, and Isabel Lara is there as well, and really nicely planned by the leadership and different students on the campus. The bike rodeo, it was a wonderful, wonderful day. You were right, Mr. Woods was there, unloading bicycles, setting up tables, just amazing. He was running all around. Everyone was, really. They were loading up the bikes, and if you get enough people, you can get all those bikes out of the gym out into the area there. And so it was really fun. Lieutenant O'Mary was there. Teachers from local elementary schools, the staff at Riverview, the sheriff's department up, with Ashley at the top as well. And the students were so excited. They had local bike organizations who'd set up tents. And we'll talk in the future about our partnership with Olympic and our bike organizations. But it was just a really fun event. And so you can see there, perfect day too, not too hot. PBIS Showcase, we heard about it, and here's a little bit of what it looked like. In the upper left-hand corner, we have Ignacio Valley, and it's wonderful that we have high schools, middles, and elementaries that are a part of this. There's PBIS, and it really took off, and I like the picture in the bottom right, Don Edwards, and you have Mount Diablo Elementary there in capes because they're superheroes, and it really is about equity and rewarding positive behavior and shaping behavior in that way as opposed to, the yelling, being punitive, etc. So wonderful. House right next door at Monty Gardens. It was packed and everybody was excited. And another group we may see in the future, but a real wonderful national recognition and state recognition, Foothill won the Green Ribbon Award, and they went to Anaheim, and you can see some of our team there. Recognized there at Anaheim, they had, I guess, Mickey Mouse cookies. That looks exciting, so I had to get a picture of that. But April Bush, principal, you can see Jonathan Egan there, you can see Margaret Elliott, and just a great group being recognized for their recycling and their work that they're doing at Foothill. Okay. Moving forward as well, we had Special Olympics at Sunrise and Shadelands since our last board meeting, and I discovered it in social media, as I sometimes do, but I wanted to share with you, it's the 50th anniversary of Special Olympics, and Dr. Aguirre shared with me, she sent me a text and said, it was so darn cute, and that's how she talks, and that's what she said. And it was. And so they had all sorts of things. They had different games. They had races, and it was held right in our own backyard. So next year we're going to have to get balloons and get all of us out there so we can see it. It's great. Also wanted to share at Concord High School, we had our first annual Gay Straight Alliance fair, and they had booths, they had local organizations, they had Rainbow Coalition, and they also had students that had put it together, and they look forward to having a second one next year. So the first one went very well. And I also want to share, I mentioned a little bit about the Career and Pathways Showcase. And you can see robotics. We had El Dorado students and Sunterra students, and we also we had our teacher pathways. We had our College Park video, and then also our health academies. And they were very articulate and just did a great job. And also wanted to say I guess the Saturday before, our Mount Diablo Music Educational Foundation was there, and many of our schools were there in Todos Los Santos. And Ms. Mayo, I saw you there as well. And it was a wonderful event. We had everything from Nirvana to Rachmaninoff. I always like to say Rachmaninoff. And it was just really well done, and they were so excited. And you can see the showmanship of the students and the teachers. spending a Saturday as music teachers do, and every evening and every waking minute preparing for these wonderful events. And up in the left-hand corner are the Music Foundation, 2 of the board members, and they're very excited to be there. Also wanted to share that Concord had, they partnered with, the Concord Arts partnered with Wren, and they had their event, and you can see in the bottom right, you have the owner of the gallery, and she was so excited. I think it's never been that packed in her gallery. It's a small little place, but every Wren student was there. Some on the left here, you can see, brought their whole family, and they went to see their art. And art is such a wonderful way for parents to engage. You know, I know I would go in, or my, you know, I would say, you know, how's my child's grade? But art is just such an open way for students and parents to come in without feeling like they got a B or a C. And so it's just very exciting, and you can see that they were thrilled, and they hope to have more partnership showcases. But Wren didn't stop there. They had another one. I think they're overachievers. On the top left, you can see they had the dancers, and that picture, if you can get close to it, is just amazing. The young man kind of saying, "Are we ready to do this?" And they are. And they also had a packed house for an art display. They had the folklorico dancers. They also had the art, and they are just really enjoying being able to show off. And the Academy Awards, as was mentioned, I didn't get to take too many pictures, so the gentleman on the upper corner is filling in for all of you who had hats, but he has multiple hats. And in the upper left, you have Westwood, and they did Grease, and they were so excited. And there were about 50 parents who were there taking pictures of Westwood. And just some other, you can see the entire ballroom, and one of the winners who was thrilled right there in the middle. And much of the money that is raised goes to pay for art projects. And there, right there, we have Ayers Elementary, who is starting their chalk art, and also looking at other schools to do the chalk art. Okay, well, the mural is, I think, one of my most favorite things this month or this year. And what, in visiting the school, if you look in the top, the students are pointing. And when I was standing there taking the picture, they kept going by and saying, "I painted that part, I painted that part." And every group, it was right when they were going to lunch, walked by and they pointed. And then their community liaison came by and said, "My son painted that part." So they were just nonstop pointing, but it's truly beautiful. The artist wrote a book about murals and brought the community together with different colors of paint and mapped it out. And it's gorgeous. If you're in the, when you're next time you're there, drive by, you can see it from the street. It was just really a fantastic work of art, and it's gorgeous. Okay, retirement reception. Talk about a group of happy people. They were so happy. And they all were saying the same thing. They're going to travel. They're going to sleep in. They're going to play with grandbabies. They're going to do whatever they want. They were a little surly, frankly, but in all honesty, they were lovely. And they, you can see one going down the gauntlet there, and she's excited. She's talking about what she's going to do. And you can see Laura Castia and Ms. Hanson there. And Laura, you can tell by her face, retiring.
I believe that was the teacher that was going to train her husband now that she was retired. That was talking.
Oh, yes. That was they had to tell me what they were going to do. She said she was going to train her husband. I didn't ask what she meant. I don't want to know. And then here you can see Serendipity, and I think it's a great visual, and they did a great job, Kevin and Debbie. All right, Principal for a Day. Principal for a Day was so exciting, and I'll go fast, but it was so fun. And I want to thank Stephanie Roberts for coordinating so much of it, and her crew. She had a great crew of volunteers and decorators, and they did a fantastic job. But just real quick, you can see Monument Crisis right up there at the top. Then you had Contra Costa School Board with Fatima Allen at Shore Acres. You had Marilyn Fowler just want to say it right. Chamber of Commerce at El Dorado with Chris Clausen. You can see we have the representative of the services and the health services in the area at Olympic with Lindsay Castellano. Deborah Mason is there with a gift bag. Bel Air, making everybody look bad. A giant in a smile with a gift bag. Meadow Homes was there with the Arts Commissioner and their Turnaround Art School. You can see Kevin Honey is there with Nicole, who's from Endeavor. And this one's a little blurrier, but Mayor Eddie Bursan was there at YB Elementary, and Lieutenant O'Mary was at Delta View. They were so excited to be there, but there's more. We have, I didn't get all of them, but I got as many pictures as we had. Eric Wood, who's with Patty Deutsch at Tesoro. Steve Van Ort? Dorn. Okay, Van Dorn. He was at Pleasant Hill Elementary, and he was so excited with their autism program that he connected the school to some of his resources for autism. One of the city council members from Martinez was at Hidden Valley, our one Martinez school, having a great time. And we have the vice mayor of Pleasant Hill here, and he was at Pleasant Hill Middle, where he went to high school when it was Pleasant Hill High. And then we have Laura Castia, again, very happy lady. She's in every picture, smiling, with Cherise Kant, and she's president of Ed Foundation. And the vice mayor of Pleasant Hill,
Michael Harris.
Ken Carlson, thank you. Okay, lots of fun people. They had a great time. And then lastly, this weekend at Camp Concord, which isn't in Concord apparently, I learned, our after-school program students went, and look at them. They just had these are just some of the wonderful pictures. Students who may have never been in a camp before or may not have camped are exposed to all sorts of things. You never know when you need that archery skill. But being focused and on target is very important. So thank you very much.
All righty, that takes us to our consent agenda. Items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved or adopted by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any member of the board and acted upon separately. Are there any requests to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Yes, I would like to remove 14.36.
I request that we remove item 14.13.
I'm gonna pull 14.33, not because I think it's a disaster, but I want to comment. Okay. Here, Joanne can do it.
Madam President, I move approval of the consent agenda with the exclusion of 14.13, 14.33, and 14.36.
Second. And that passes 500. 14, 15. Mr. Lawrence.
I was just hoping to get a little information as to why this specific school and just a little background, if we could, on the purchase of heat pumps.
Okay, we are required, if a student does not purchase their own uniform, we're required to provide a uniform and locks. And so, some students prefer to purchase their own, so they're not sharing or having one that, was used. So they are for sale at different schools. But in this case, this, campus is purchasing, both uniforms and locks for the PE department. And that's Assembly Bill 1575. And we know it because it's brought us a lot.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the purchase of PE uniforms for students at Mount Diablo High School for the 2018-19 school year.
Second.
Thank you.
I pulled this not because I don't support it. I support exactly what's going on in food services. I pulled it because it's $453,000, and I know we have the funds, but I'm one who says on consent agenda, those are routine items, and they should be, to me, smaller amounts. And I support this. It's not that. I just pulled it as an example of a really huge cost kind of dropped into consent. And I think that when the items, I mean, I'm not a stickler for what it should be. It was always $25,000, I think. After that, it was not considered routine business. I don't think we have to hold to that, but I do think when we get to a point where we're looking at almost $500,000, I don't consider it routine. I consider it something we should put in business action, and maybe we need to agree upon an amount, but consent should be routine, everyday kinds of things, such as what we just approved for the PE uniforms. That's kind of a regular recurring cost. But this to me is something that deserves to be highlighted in business. And I would like to see us look at what we're putting in consent. Yes, it's faster just to draw, and there's several in here like this. I just picked this because of the amount. I think it's good to reflect on what we're dropping in consent in terms of considering them routine, and routine to me is not once you get up to $500,000. I think that deserves more discussion to highlight it and recognize it. So that's why I'm pulling it. But I'd also like to make a motion to approve it. But I wanted to use it to highlight that point. I'd like to see us in the future maybe come up with some sort of modernized policy on this. So, Madam President, I move that the board approve the purchase and replacement of 3 food delivery vehicles for the Food and Nutrition Services Department.
Second, and may I make a comment?
Yes, you may.
I agree with Ms. Hanson, and I would think that I think we should have a discussion as the board, but certainly when we start talking in the 6 figures, I think that's beyond the scope of consent, and so we could have a conversation around what would be the threshold. But I agree that items of this amount should be regarded as non-routine and placed on the full agenda, the business agenda, not consent. But I did second it.
And I made that same comment about 2 years ago. But we'll look at it now. Yeah,
I'm suggesting that's a future item.
And that passes 5-0. Excellent. And now, 15.3, that was Ms. Durkee.
So actually, it's a little bit similar. There are several items, but I didn't want to pull them all because I really just want to sort of make this point as well, that are Measure C. And I wanted to bring it up because I wanted to, again, see if give the other board members an opportunity to either agree or disagree, but I feel like, a couple things that, because we've had some specific actions where we approved, large amounts with an understanding, we spent a lot of time on this topic, right? So, in a study session and in board meetings are quite specific with the understanding that numbers will change, as we go forward and each individual expense would be brought to the board. So what I found myself doing was trying to go back to the information we got originally and say, okay, we approved this amount, here's this amount, we're asking to approve, do the math, how much is left, because we're getting close to the bottom. But I'm thinking I'm probably not the only one that would like to see that. And so I just would suggest or request, and again, open for discussion, that there be that type of documentation provided to us for each Measure C expense coming forward. I'm happy to share a spreadsheet that I developed that, is a simple way to do it, just to, so it's really clear, because I think that for all of us on the board and for the public as well, it's significant to be really clear about where we are and which grouping, there are a couple groupings, which one this falls under, and then so we can all kind of keep our eye on where we are. Because, we'll be making decisions in the future about a remaining balance. I think we'd like to also really comfortable that we're all clear of where we are. So that's what it is.
Have a future agenda item discussing both those issues. I think they're related, so we can do it under one issue. So, thank you.
Okay. Well, with that, I'm trying to language here. I recommend, or I move the approval of,
Item 15. Would you like me to make a motion?
Sorry. Approve the fund, well, it says funding source, a recommendation, approve the funding source correction. I'm sorry, this is probably not a great one to pull, sorry about that. But award of bid 1797 roofing at Sequoia Elementary School, Sequoia Middle School, and Riverview Middle School to Andy's Roofing Company Incorporated. Okay. Second. Thank you, Jim.
I'd just like to highlight this one's about $4 million. So again, I don't consider any of this routine. I consider it extraordinary and worth discussion and noting for the public.
I believe this one was money that was already approved. It was just the allocation of the funding source.
That passes 500. Communications. I don't think we have any cards under communications. But, we did have one card for 18.1. And then I think after we hear that, we're going to move 18.18 up because I think it's probably of more interest to the public than some of the other things that are on our business agenda. So, Catherine Beckner, you want to comment on 18.1? Or did you want more information first, or?
I think there was, I came here to talk about Bancroft's dual immersion program.
Oh.
I'm not sure that is the right, I signed up for open comments.
Okay, something didn't translate.
Right.
So, I guess if you want to come up and talk about immersion, you've sat here all this time.
Yeah. Okay.
It's our mistake, so.
Just your card says 18.1, so
Okay.
we go when the number's there.
Okay.
So there's just a little mistake.
That's okay.
All right. Well, I will keep it brief. Tonight, sitting in the meeting, I've heard a lot about pathways. You want this to be a destination school district. Equity is a priority in this district, and closing the achievement gap is a priority in this district. I graduated from Neches Valley in 1993. I was a teacher at Mount Diablo High School for 9 years. I taught at Pleasant Hill Middle School. I was an art teacher. And currently I'm at Piedmont Unified School District teaching art. I chose to put my two daughters at Bancroft for the dual immersion program. And when my second grader arrived there, I was told that there was going to be a middle school. If we have pathways for various career pathways, why is language not a priority and a pathway? My daughters are going to be bilingual by 5th grade, and there is nowhere for them to go in 6th grade. Spanish 1 is not an appropriate placement for them. So I want to stay in the district. I live in Pleasant Hill. Our school is Strandwood, and I chose to, instead of sending them to Strandwood and walk to school, to drive 20 minutes out of my way to go to Bancroft. Holbrook was not an option when I applied, and Meadow Homes would not take me because they didn't, my children were English only. One other thing, when I taught at Mount Diablo High School, and I would call parents that were monolingual, Spanish dominant at home, it was very difficult for me to communicate with parents, and that is why I feel like my daughters should be bilingual, and that is a priority as a parent. Art, technology, having high expectations is also a priority, but it's very important for myself and other members of the community to have a dual immersion program through middle and high school. With Bancroft having 5 classes currently in kindergarten for dual immersion, and Holbrook opening up, and low enrollment at both Oak Grove and I believe Pine Hollow, I don't understand why we can't make this work. Thank you for your time. I believe in this program. I believe in this district. I hope to come back to this district again. But thank you very much.
I just have a clarifying question.
Yeah.
Do you happen to remember when you enrolled your child, who was it that told you that we have a middle school program?
Well, it was the initial meetings that I went to. I was under the impression, oh, that's not developed, but we have time. Well, the 3rd graders are going into 4th grade and there's nowhere for them to go. And I really feel like this program addresses the quality in a powerful way.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Thanks for waiting.
Yes.
Sorry you had to wait an extra hour.
Oh, no, I'm happy to.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and move 18.18 up first, with the information on the results from the request for proposal issued in December 2017 for the development of facility master plan for Mount Diablo Unified School District.
Introduce you guys really quick. I'm going to ask if our CBO Rose Ramos could please introduce.
Good evening, good evening, board members, Dr. Meyer. Tonight we are providing you some information on the proposal that we issued, or a request proposal on a facility master plan. Back in December 2017, the district issued a proposal and we received about 6 of them. Of those 6, the district selected 3 firms to look at a little closer that we felt would meet the needs of the district. And from that list, we shortlisted even more to inviting them back for an interview. 2 firms did come back for an interview. We had 2 panels, a technical panel and a community panel, to really gather information that we felt was really needed by the district. And after these interviews were done, both panels convened and they decided that LPA, who's here this evening, would better fit the needs of the district, and we want to bring them forward for recommendation. Tonight it's just informational only, so we have 2 representatives, Walter and Andrea, and they will provide some information and can answer any questions you may have on the facility master plan. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me here? Yes. Good evening. I'm Walter Este. I'm with LPA, and I also have Andrea Pippin here. We are both located in San Jose. So, members of the board, and Dr. Meyer, we have a short presentation just sort of introducing our firm, who we are, and we'll talk a little bit about our process as well. So LPA has been around since 1965. We are a firm of over 400 people. 125 of those are dedicated to education. About half of our work is educational related. We have 6 total offices, but we have 4 in California. As I said before, we're at the San Jose office. We've been around a long time. A couple of just facts for you. We've done over $18.5 billion of facility improvements. We've recommended those improvements. Of those, we've done about $6.5 billion worth of work in different districts throughout California. That basically represents about 350 school facility projects. As far as specific experience on master plans, you'll see we've done over 60 over the years. Some recent ones, I apologize, I'm supposed to be clicking here. Orinda Union is, we're about 99% complete on that one. Dublin is complete. Pleasanton, Tamalpais, and Andrea's just completing Davis as well. It's about 99% complete as well. Our team, it's not just us two. We do most of the work. Andrea actually does most of the work. But we have a large team. You'll see at least over a dozen people from our firm working on the project. Just some of the leadership, Jim Kizzle, he's our Director of School Planning, so he will facilitate all the planning meetings with the districts, with the different communities that Andrea will talk about in a minute. Myself, I'm the Managing Director of Education located in San Jose. I'm an architect and I have 28 years of experience, and about 15 of that is specifically in K-12 projects. Andrea Pippin here is an educational facility planner. She will be doing a lot of planning documentation for the project. Julie Kramer, who is not here, she's really a strategist, an educational strategist, and a planner, sort of a visionary. So she'll help us translate some of your programs and needs into how do those affect facilities and how do we integrate those. And then from a couple of our consultants that we work with quite a bit, Matt Anderson with EMG, he'll be performing all the facilities assessments. We hire that outside of our firm. We typically do some of that ourselves, but we have a lot of school sites, and we want to make sure we get to those over the summer when all schools are available and we have less kids or programs, things going on. And Corey Burback with Cooperative Strategies, he'll provide demographic information and funding information and funding options to the district. One thing that's different about our firm is our integrated design process. So at LPA, we have all in-house engineers. So we do mechanical engineering, structural engineering, electrical, plumbing. We have landscape architects, civil engineering, interior design, educational facility planning. So all that's in-house. So we typically bring those, that team with us at the beginning of the project. They all get to hear, we get to talk to you and understand what's going on with your project, and they work with us throughout the project. And the difference is that most firms will bring certain people on throughout the process. We think it's best to get everybody in the team right. And Andrew will talk a little bit about our process.
And not only do we engage, I'll just back up to this slide just real quick, not only do we engage the district very early in the process, but as part of our holistic design process, but we also have in-house landscape architects, engineers, a bevy of other specialties that we can call upon whenever we need to. If we have a specific question, I heard drainage was an issue at many of the campuses. If there's something that's a little above our heads as far as that's concerned, we could just give them a quick call and say, hey, this is going on, what would you recommend as a strategy for potential improvements as we begin rolling that into our cost analysis. So there are 4 components of a typical master plan. The educational vision and goals, basically tying your educational vision, translating what you want to do programmatically into space diagrams. And while our diagrams are not architectural plans, they do give recommendations and kind of, what finishes would you want to use, what types of furniture might be in this type of space, that sort of thing. And also touch on adjacencies of certain elements
your library compared to your admin space, that sort of thing. A second component is the demographics review. Again, Corey Burback with Cooperative Strategies will be providing demographics, and financial analysis provided by Corey as well. Just trying to see, okay, we have this great master plan when all is said and done, but how is that implemented? So we really want to help you look at funding sources to help identify how some of these projects can be implemented. So that this master plan is not just a binder that sits on a shelf for a while. The other component within the master plan is the facilities condition assessments performed by EMG. As Walter mentioned, they'll be doing that hopefully over the summer when the schools are available, and will really provide a very robust condition needs assessment of all the school sites that will then inform the rest of our process as we look at the school sites and developing our recommendations, and also informing our cost estimate once we get to that point. And throughout the whole process is community outreach, because it's not our master plan, it's yours. We really want to understand you as a community. What are your most important needs? What does the community hold dear in its school facilities? So this is just a diagram of some of our community outreach or stakeholder and communication, all the members that we want to bring to the team as we begin developing this plan. So on the right side is kind of the district groups. You know, some of you will be having interviews with some of the department heads regarding special education, adult education. We found just by perusing your website, very robust adult education program here. Talk with nutrition services, technology, all the different departments in, you know, finding out what is working today and what might be the big vision for the future. On the left side there, you see more of the community outreach section. The school sites will all have inputs. As we kick off the process, we have a plan the plan meeting where we'll sit with district leadership, you see in that kind of bottom bubble, to help us develop who are the groups that we should be talking with. You know, who are we missing from this list? How do we engage the school sites? You know, how do we best engage the students, the teachers, the parents, and the staff? So, and we'll also be doing principal interviews again to understand how they're currently functioning in the sites, and again, what is the big vision for the future. In the center of the whole diagram is the Facilities Master Plan Committee. And we put it there for a reason, because this committee, we bring them through the whole process with us. It's a committee of half district people and half community people, but we bring them together, engage them early on, and again, meeting regularly throughout the process. And then of course yourself, the Board of Education up there, right in the middle of things too, as it is your ultimate decision of action moving forward with all these projects. As I mentioned, so a little hard to read, but hopefully no one's colorblind, as I'll just refer to things in colors. We're here at the beginning of the process. Oh, good, that works. So as we kick it off, you know, we have this informational, these red boxes up at the top of the board, engagement sessions. So with that first box being the informational meeting here, fingers crossed for your approval at the next meeting. But once we get that really kicked off, again, these blue boxes are the district leadership meetings that will help us steer the process. So we'll be meeting with them regularly, gathering data, just getting all the behind the scenes nitty-gritty information. Over the summer, be gathering other information such as our demographics. I want to read this, so let's go here. Having EMG do these school needs assessments, meeting with focus groups, as many people as we can over the summer, gathering as much info as we can so that we can move forward once school commences in September, or August, September, to get that community component in there. We're ready with info and can begin sharing this process with them and begin developing the educational specifications. And then again, that Facilities Master Plan Committee meets somewhat monthly along the process. We touch base again with you all, targeting kind of November, but again, that process has yet to be scheduled. Over the winter break or throughout the later months, we'll be developing the school site draft master plans. We'll be possibly in the new year meeting as a kind of a town hall setting to unveil the drafts. Very much an opportunity to throw darts at them. We want to know what we got right, what we got wrong. We'll be getting input throughout between these two meetings, gaining input from the school sites themselves, and refining our diagrams for the draft presentation to the board in the spring, ultimately for approval, and we'll wrap up kind of June-ish. We find it best to wrap up before everyone leaves for the summer. So doing the bulk of the community outreach, or all of the community outreach during the school year, so we don't lose anyone. And I'll let Walter wrap it up.
Thank you. So, finally, just sort of to wrap this up, real quick, talk a couple of these. You can see what do we believe a sustainable master plan is. For me, personally, people-driven, I think, is really important. Really about engaging your community, your district, all the stakeholders is extremely important. One of the things that I think we don't, of course, want to forget, because it's the most important thing, is learner-centered. It's about making sure students have a say, they're participating in this process, understanding what they want, and we want to give them the best educational outcomes that they possibly have. Transparent, we want to build consensus with our community, with the board, with our teachers, the entire district leadership. And finally, we really want to have projects that are implementable. We want to have a really clear vision of where you want to go, make sure that we have a plan and that we can implement all those projects in some way, fashion, form, in the future. And I think those are really kind of, for me, the big components that we need to move forward in this master plan. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions you have.
I did have a couple questions. I noted, because I love this, by the way, this is fantastic and long overdue. I really think it's wonderful. I was curious about the long range piece where you talk about forward looking. Is there a kind of a time frame you think about in terms of years, or how is that kind of come forward in a sort of tangible way when you say long range?
The demographic projections that we typically use are maybe a 7 or 10-year outlook. So we'll plan the master plan diagrams. We'll be using those enrollments, and this all depends on what comes out of the plan meeting. But there's two ways to go about a facilities master plan. One is very maintenance driven. It's looking at the immediate needs. It's usually when you have a set dollar amount that you're trying to plan to. The second type is a more visionary plan. Really thinking long term, may take a couple rounds of funding to actually implement it fully, but there you're really getting visionary with your ideas. So if it is decided that this is a long-term visionary master plan, we want to make sure that the master plans themselves are flexible, that any projects that are prioritized as this kind of phase one, that they don't exclude or prohibit the development of any future elements in that master plan as you go forward. So, these diagrams, they're 10,000 foot level, right? But through, let's see, I lost my train of thought. But then through implementation and through the recommendations that come from each one of the stakeholders, we always ask for their top priorities, that the implementation is done in a thoughtful way, that then no project can be left, it gets kind of shoved off the table when we're thinking long term, that they can all be implemented, and that the plans can morph and change as needs or priorities change over time.
And you hit the two components there that I was thinking. One is the visionary, and then one is sort of the nuts and bolts, practical maintenance things that we haven't taken care of. And the other piece you mentioned in there, which is going to be relevant, is the amount of money we have to spend on this vision or this nuts and bolts piece. And that's, I don't know how that factors in. I'm sure you've encountered this with school districts repeatedly, where our dollars are dependent upon, we're finishing up our bond. We've already got it allocated pretty much. So what we're looking at is, and that's how this tied in, as you know, is the next potential bond. So you factor that in along the way. Should that bond be floated? Should it pass? But if things don't work out that way, we're still left with a kind of visionary and nuts and bolts list that we could then start pressing for funding.
Yes, typically those nuts and bolts, those dire, I gotta have air conditioning in my classroom kind of needs, get
pretty high on that list because it's a common priority that we hear from many different groups. And deferred maintenance items, that sort of thing, will be captured in EMG's report for the condition assessments. So, when I think of, like I mentioned, there's the two types of master plans, the nuts and bolts, we need it just done now, we have this amount of dollars, what can we do here, versus the visionary. When we go to do that visionary master plan, ultimately, it's those nuts and bolts projects that get prioritized for that first round of funding, along with something tangible that the community can see, so then you can pursue a second round of funding to do, dig a little deeper in this transformation.
I think part of what this does is, I believe, and I appreciate Rose Ramos doing this for us as well, in initiating this, is because it does articulate to the community where we're at and what we envision. And this is going to be, I think, an important confidence builder that will be a great service for us. So thank you.
Hopefully we do it right.
We will do it right. I will say one of the things we really do well, I think, in terms of implementation plan is looking at what the district's needs and wants are, what the community's needs are, what the students' needs are, what are their top priorities. We always do a great job of sort of melding those together to bring those the really important things to the top and then prioritize appropriately down the line.
Questions? Comment for my fellow board members to kind of pick up on the thread I think I was hearing from Ms. Hanson is just that consideration if we do not pass another bond, does an expenditure of this amount make sense, and just how we prioritize that, and looking at spending $742,000 if we don't then have funds to implement this and consideration of that. So prior to us voting, I think that's something we should be looking at and talk to staff for information on.
So I presume that you've heard conversations or rumors about the Naval Weapons Station and the potential build out within our community around that area, or maybe not. And so I would be interested in to see how that plays, because it's being done with the city of Concord. Hopefully there will be some school sites, at least they've been promised. We're not sure exactly what they will be, but how that will interplay or won't interplay with your report. Yes, it's further out perhaps than 10 years, but I think it's something that we still need to keep, in the forefront of our minds, because it will be critical. The other thing is, do you find that you often end up communicating with, for example, the Chamber of Commerce of the various cities and elected officials from the cities? Because in previous experiences, I'm looking at one colleague in the back of the room, we've received very opinionated comments about their visions for our school districts. So you work with those groups as well?
Yes, absolutely. All members of the community that district leadership thinks should be brought on, and especially people if they're bringing opposing ideas or maybe naysayers in the past, we want to bring them on board and share with them this process and hear those differing ideas and see how can it all work.
And the one group that I would particularly want to see involved in this is the Bond Oversight Committee members, because they've invested many years in looking at our facilities and have walked the facilities as much as our staff members have. So I look forward to hearing how you will engage that particular group.
It sounds like a great idea and a great opportunity for a few, if not all of those members, I don't know how many are there, but to be part of that facilities master plan committee. So we'll bring that to the steering committee where we plan.
And I think just to respond to your first comment, cooperative strategies, when they look at demographics, they'll pull all the relevant information and where growth's happening, what's happening in the district, what's happening near your district, whatever might impact your school, your district in terms of whether it's housing or different developments, and they'll look at timeframes as well. So I think they'll capture that. We'll just have to see where it plays out.
Right, and the timeline.
Yeah, the timeline.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? I think that's great. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much. We're really excited. So it's a fantastic project, and you know, we've been here for a couple of hours now. You have a real passionate district, and it's exciting to see. It's a great thing for us because we really do try and bring everyone together and get some consensus so that everybody understands why we're selecting different projects, different programs, all these things, and why it makes sense. So at least they have an understanding.
I like your attitude there. That's good. Because this could be a tough crowd when you're in education, and you've got great experience.
We have 6 cities in the county.
It's very personal. Very personal. It's people's children, so you've got great experience and a great attitude.
Absolutely. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
School safety plan.
Thank you.
Is there any report? I don't know, I'm just asking. It's for information, so I'm just.
They'll come back.
This is actually, this was brought, yeah, at our last board meeting, we had the principals here and the plans available.
We're still on 18.8 on our screens. Let's get out of that.
I would just share in regards to 18.1 that the safety plans, especially in the light of last Friday's incidences in Texas, were a topic, of discussion, and there were many viewpoints on it. I'm very pleased to report that Mount Diablo has a very solid practice in reviewing the plans and working with staff and school sites and police and fire, and then bringing them forward the board 2 times. There were instances, and you'll see that in my report, that some district boards had never seen their site, their safety plans. So we do a very good job. Different board members were asking for templates that could be modified by site, which we've established. So I want to thank our staff for working so hard on those plans.
Well, I just say too that I say this as a former high school principal. We've come a long way in terms of collaboration around these safety plans, because I used to always say as a principal, why in the heck do you think school administrators can sit around and write a school safety plan? And it's other duties as assigned. And what's really I appreciate now is we've partnered with police and fire and looking at the people who are more expert in this arena, particularly given some of the events that have happened in some of our schools. I think it's nice to go beyond just, school site administrators, we're very smart, but we're not trained professionals in all of this. So it's great to have a partnership.
Madam President, I move that we approve the comprehensive site safety plans as presented.
Second. Oh, I just heard a pause. I jump in. The clock is ticking.
While we're waiting, I will say again, I'm always impressed with the amount of detail that the site administrators put in. And that passes 5-0. And thank you to all of them for all their hard work. 18.2, adopt resolution 17/18-42, increase statutory school facility fees imposed on new residential and commercial/industrial construction. And this is for action because we reviewed it at our last meeting. Any questions or comments before we entertain a motion?
I just wanted to be sure that there were no comment cards, and there were none at the last meeting.
Must be a lot more controversial. Lynn and I remember those 90 years in the 90s.
Okay. Madam President, I move we adopt resolution 17/18-42 to increase statutory school fees imposed on new residential and commercial industrial development projects. Thank you.
Second.
Passes 500. 18.3, independent service agreement between Lori, I can't say her name, Boltzmann and Mount Deb Unified School District for Crossroads. As an action item. Questions?
Madam President, I would move that we approve the independent service agreement with Lori Goldsman and the Alva School District. Crossroads.
Second.
And that passes 500. Next would be 18.4, agreement between Decision Insight and Mount Dale Unified School District. This is for professional services and community demographic analysis and enrollment projections for use in budget planning, facilities planning, partner planning, staff planning, strategic planning, and school configuration planning. The service agreement is for Decision Insight's combined student view system access license and its premier enrollment projection package.
We have this? This is new, isn't it?
No.
No? I'm
Second
just
year.
curious because
This
I
is-
don't remember hearing about it.
This has particularly been valuable to leadership and the board when you look at gray areas and want to move boundaries around. It's how we were able to get enrollment numbers if we did change things.
But it is something that we've had for the last 2 years.
Last year.
Last
This is the
year.
second
in
That's all I'm
use, So this is the second
This
year.
is just renewing it.
I think we spent much of 2 years ago wishing for something
Right,
like this.
right. I just didn't recognize the name. Madam President, I move that the board approve the agreement between Mount Delta Unified and Decision Insight, April 2018 to April 2019.
Second.
So I have a question. For the facilities master plan, they talked about reviewing demographics and looking at information. Are these two groups going to be doing the same work, and how is it different?
No, this.
I had the same question and Joe has the answer.
Good. I think I know the answer, but I could be wrong.
I think they were pretty clear when they told you that they're looking at a 7 and 10 year projection, and this is just goes year by year, up to 5 years. So it's different. It's very scientific. They gather information in very much the same way, but the other one's going to be more long term than short term.
Yeah, this is very immediate to me and daily, as I recall seeing some of the data.
With current students included. And so it will be helpful for the facilities plan.
Right. I just didn't recognize the name. Decision Insight. I don't know. Anyway, I like it.
You liked it so much you voted?
I already voted, yes, as he was talking.
And that passes 500. 18.5, painting and locker repair at Concord High School by American Office Services. This is an action item.
Madam President, I move that we approve the painting and locker repair at Concord High School by American Office Services.
Second.
Passes 500. And 18.6, purchase of a printer and graphic cards for Mount Devil High School. Let's see here.
Sounds like the gray computer and old
It's a-
punch cards.
Madam President, I move the board approve the purchase of a printer and graphic cards for Mount Diablo High School.
Passes 500. 18.7, purchase of Project Lead the Way tools for Concord High School.
This is grant funding. Madam President, I move the board approve the purchase of Project Lead the Way tools for Concord High.
Second. You know, it might be helpful if there's a little more explanation as to what the tools, which tools are being purchased for our public in the future.
Duly noted. Okay, 18.8, increase the purchase order for Kendall Hunt. That is for to actually get supplies to help us do the next generation science lessons, as I recall.
And this is for second high school. I move the board approve the purchase order with Kendall Hunt for science materials.
Second. Yes, sir.
No, it was just not really.
Oh, passes 5-0. 18.9, renewal of Contra Costa County Community College Career Access Pathways Dual Enrollment Partnership Agreement for 2018-2019.
This is my favorite one.
Okay.
I'm not even going to pause for breath here. Madam President, I move to approve the renewal of the Contra Costa Community College and Career Access Pathways Dual Enrollment Partnership Agreement for 2018-19.
And I'll second it. Since we started down that road together.
Not that I have favorites, I love them all. We fought for this one for a couple of years, if I had to pick a favorite.
We had some meetings. And that passes 5-0. Okay, 18.10, ratification of the Endeavor Foundation grant for STEM after-school clubs, STEM and EdTech Symposium, and Summer Girl Camp Summit.
Madam President, I move approval of item 18.10, ratification of the Endeavor Foundation grant for STEM after-school clubs.
Second, and I applaud them because all they're asking for is to submit a grant for $405,000, and that's a heck of a lot of work, and I appreciate it very much.
And the next one is for information only, the AP government textbook adoption. And it was pooled, so we're not going to talk about it. 18.12 is Asia Valley.
You were ready, somebody else wasn't.
Asia Valley High School's IB textbook adoption. Is this one you want to talk about? No. Okay.
They do need books.
They do need books.
Madam President, I move we approve Ignacio Valley High School's IB textbook recommendations.
Second.
Passes 5-0. Next we have 18.13, budget revisions for April 2018. Any questions?
And he's like, did you have a good day, Nancy, since you sat here all day?
We could think of some sections since she sat here all night. I just, don't have any because it's a lot of.
Got one?
No, I was just gonna make a motion.
You can do that.
Madam President, I move that the board approve item 18.13, budget revisions for April 2018.
No question.
And that passes 500. And now we have 1814, Declaration of Need for Fully Qualified Educators. Did you want to say anything about this one, Doctor? Speaks for itself.
Madam President, I move we approve the declaration need for fully qualified educators.
Second.
You? Passes 500. 1815, opportunity for public response to the initiative successor agreement proposals for California School Employees Associations and Mount Diablo Unified School District. Actually, because we saw it at our last meeting, I believe.
Madam President, I move the board adopt the proposals for formal negotiations to begin between CSEA and the Mount Diablo Unified School District.
Second.
That passes 500. 18.16, public presentation of the initial successor agreement proposal for Mount Diablo Education Association and the Mount Diablo Unified School District initial successor agreement proposal to Medea.
So this is the first time this has come forward, but the action entails presenting it publicly, not accepting the recommendation.
So that's all we have to
They're
do.
accepting,
Do we have no-
they're accepting
Right.
proposals
Yeah.
for public presentation, next
Okay, got it. Right.
for board, as public input.
And we have no cards. So. Good. Now we have the revision of job description, transportation scheduler, which is for information. Anybody have any questions or input for Dr. Meyer?
Where was the job description?
I was looking at this at home.
It's not attached.
It's not attached.
Unless it was detached.
No, it wasn't attached, and I was looking at this over the weekend.
So
I don't see it here either.
I guess it'll be coming back for
It'll have to
information
come
again in
back
the future.
again.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a little glitch there.
18.19, award of contracts for restroom modernization group 4, package 2, which will be returned for ratification at future board dates as early as June 11, 2018, with the lowest responsible negotiated contractor per PCC Division 2, Part 3, Chapter 2, Article 3, 22038, 2C. This is pursuant to Ed Code. For our modernization group 4, for the restrooms.
And this was because we did not have bidders.
But if it's brought forward at June 11th, then
Yeah. Are you looking for any action here?
You didn't get any bidders, and so this has to come back June 11th with the bids? Is that what we're doing? Just out of curiosity? There's John.
Purchasing and I have been working together on this for quite a while. We got no respondent bidders on April 23rd to that package. We had 4 packages go out. We got responses on the other 3, so we awarded those tonight. Thank you very much. second package, if we wait until the 11th to award, it jeopardizes our timeline for our summer projects for this. So what we're trying to do is get basically a summer resolution, which you guys have done in the past for us, for a short amount of time between the two board meetings, and we'll bring back anything that we plan to award within our budget for those contracts. We're going to try to break them up, and if we can't get within our budget, we've already negotiated one and it was double our budget, and we're not going to recommend award for that. So we are going to continue to negotiate and see what we can come up with. I think we found one package of the 3 schools that we can award, and it will be within our budget. So we look forward to doing that if you guys pass this resolution. And then we'll bring it back and ratify it at the next meeting or in subsequent meetings if we keep negotiating with these contractors and within our ability.
Yeah, I'm struggling that this motion, as I read it, doesn't seem to reflect what I just heard.
I think what we're really asking for is your authority to act on your behalf between now and the next board meeting. And that's what this particular ed code, or public contract code allows us to do, or allows you rather to do for us.
And allows Ellen to.
And the question I just had for general counsel was, could this be something that is info and then brought back for ratification? And the answer is no, because in order to enter into a contract and start the summer work, it needs to be, authority needs to be given prior so they can negotiate on our behalf.
You've set the budget, they'll stay within their budget. But they don't have authority to sign a contract unless you give them that. And because of the market being as bad as it is for contractors, it's unfortunately something districts are doing now.
We were pleasantly surprised on the other 3 and very surprised on
Congratulations on the other 3.
Well,
We will continue to press forward.
Yeah, it's strange.
It's not 2010 anymore.
So whoever makes the motion, I would appreciate that if the project itself would be included in the motion. Because right now, as the recommendation is presented there, it just says award of contracts, and there's not, I'm looking at the bottom of the docket page, which normally is what is used for the motion.
All right, so you're asking us to trust you, and
Yes.
we do. I'm going to make a motion.
They can't spend more than you've already budgeted.
Right.
So that's one.
Right.
The site.
I move that the board approve the authorization of the award of contracts for modernization Group 4 Package 2 restroom projects, not restaurant, restroom projects to the lowest responsible contractor, lowest responsible negotiated contractor, and return this for ratification to the board as early as June 11th, 2018, if that makes any sense at all.
I think you need to include the division, part, chapter, and article in the motion too.
I'd be happy to do that. I will add that right on the end. As written.
As written, yes.
PCC Division 2, Part 3, Chapter 2, Article.
So pretty much that's what your motion.
Okay, that's my motion, essentially, that I'm approving that we will ratify it as early as June 11th, which actually is the only next board meeting within that. No, that's our next board meeting, is how I should say it. That's our next board meeting, and then we have a little gap in here, so. I'm presuming they want to get this done so they can get it moving. Hopefully we get a bidder, the lowest responsible rate.
Motion looks good to me.
Did I get a second?
Second.
Thank you.
I would just like to know which schools are involved.
Burgundy Gardens, Pleasant Hill, and Strandwood.
Oh, it's Pleasant Hill.
Pleasant Hill.
Thank you, John.
That's good.
Of course I do.
Joanne, you wanted to move on.
Okay, that passes 5-0-0. 820, revisions of board policy administrative regulations 3551, food service operations cafeteria fund, which we already have discussed. Is there any further discussion needed, or if not, I'll take a motion.
I move that the board approve the revisions to board policy and AR 3551 meal charge policy procedure.
Thank you.
Second.
That passes 5-0-0, which takes us to 1821. Ms. Mayo?
I ask that voice vote be taken. I will refrain from voting because I have a potential conflict of interest due to a construction project that my husband worked on with this company in East Coast.
Thank you. So we will be voting on a fiscal transaction for Lakeshore Learning for April 2018. Not asking you to say that for a moment, right?
Madam President, I move that the board take a voice vote on item 18.21, fiscal transaction for Lakeshore Learning, April 2018.
Thank you. Second. Second. Okay. Fiscal transition for Lakeshore Learning, April 2018. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Ms. Durkee?
I'm sorry, yes.
Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Ms. Mason votes yes. That passes 4-0-0. Ms. Mayo did not vote. And we do not need a meeting extension. And we do have the last word tonight coming from Dr. Meyer.
I just wanted to note that one of our retirees who is on the list is still in the room, and he's looking away. But I wanted to thank Chris Holloran for his 5 years of service to Mount Diablo Unified and the years of education.
Yes, she may.
I wanted to give a bulldog yell, but I chose not to.
We have one other comment before we leave. Ms. Mayo?
So I had decided to do my comment about what we would do in a board governance workshop or make a consideration for it. And I wanted to share a thought that I had. As trustees, we attend many school and community events. And I recommend that this summer, perhaps in August or September, we each identify a high school feeder pattern that we follow as a board member so that we are visiting more community events within the feeder patterns, because we're showing up at many of the same events and some schools are being missed because of that process. And I thought that might be something we could discuss at a governance workshop. And we would conceivably rotate it every year so that a board member could enjoy the experiences of each of the high school feeder patterns. I also wanted to say, since we have 5 comprehensive high schools, I recommend that each year each trustee officiate at one of the comprehensive high school graduations. And I'm sad that I was not granted this opportunity this year. And the rationale was explained. So thank you.
You're welcome.